Good morning and welcome to the Texas Sprint Racing Series, round number 1, opening round here from SpeedSportz Racing Park. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for watching live. As always, my name is Caleb Vieska. Alongside me in the booth this weekend, many of you guys may know him from our podcast every Tuesday that we share together, KC Grid Talk, live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Alexander Searle, also one of our pit reporters here at Kart Chaser. Alex, firstly, a pleasure to have you in the state of Texas. It's good to finally have you here, right? Watching some Texas Sprint Racing Series action.
Well, it's only fair. I mean, we were in Orlando for the first 2 months of the year, back in my home. So I said, why not go to Texas? Why not hang out with the boys here at SpeedSportz? And a beautiful facility, beautiful racetrack, amazing series, always provides incredible action. So I'm looking forward to it. My first time at TSRS, and it's been a great time. Yeah,
great time indeed, right? Already, I mean, everybody's been happy to be back. 153 days it's been since the checker flag dropped in Amarillo, and a couple of champions were crowned in 2024, but we're back here in 2025. Excited to be back. A lot of new names, a lot of different faces, and that's what we love to see in the sport of karting. We were just looking through kind of the entry list. A lot of drivers, 202 drivers here this weekend that are getting set to hit the racetrack and have already hit the racetrack throughout the day. It's been very, very cold. It definitely doesn't feel like Texas, I would say here, Alex, with temperatures down to 37 degrees this morning, and some clouds and some rain looming in the area as well.
Well, we watched them roll off the pits, and you can kind of tell immediately how cold it is out there. A lot of these drivers having to really saw at the wheel and get a good grasp of what the kart's going to feel like. Obviously, yesterday was a little bit warmer. Still a cold day yesterday, but we saw some pretty good warm sessions, some fast laps laid down by some new drivers, some drivers moving up in the ranks that we'll get into throughout this warm session. But it's a gloomier day than yesterday, and these drivers are going to have to deal with the newer conditions, maybe conditions that they're not as used to driving with here in Texas, but nonetheless, they're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, a couple of drivers that were following around the racetrack now. Tanner Barge for the CRG MSL Racing team, deciding to go a full year of moving away the 4-cycle stuff, focusing on the mini Swift. Want to run a couple of national series as well, and one of the things that we haven't yet touched on is the SCUSA Pro Tour is coming to town here in a couple of weeks' time, about a month. Once we hit March, the SCUSA Pro Tour is going to come out here, and as we like to say, the entire kind of traveling circuit is going to work its way out here to SpeedSportz Racing Park in New Caney, Texas. So we're excited to see that, and drivers like Tanner and Alex Chandler, that's right ahead of them, are going to look to make an impression. And a lot of drivers have a lot of testing with the TSRS coming here before. We see a lot of the national drivers making their way out here to come out and race, and we'll see more of those as we go through the rest of the classes. But early on in the morning here, a couple of drivers setting in some lap times. Marshall at 151, Chandler for the Iron Rock Motorsports team right behind him. And we'll run you down that entry list. A couple of names that you guys are probably familiar with. Colton Schneegenberg right ahead of them with the GWR, Gary Willis Racing team. Or Go-In Races team, I should say. He's going to work his way as well around the racetrack. He had a podium earlier on in the year at the SCUSA Winter Series, where he had a really impressive run there. And again, his second full year in Mini Swift, I believe. So it's been, a progress as well. And the driver right ahead of him, Tyler Moravietz. It took me a while to get that name right, but Tyler Moravietz with the GFC team, sponsored by Expel, as well as Stilo this year. It's the steel helmet and the Expel livery on that GFC chassis. A couple of drivers working their way around, and we'll do our best to get that live timing up for you guys as soon as possible. Nonetheless, Alex, it's been good, and I mean, looking down this entry list so far, who are you kind of keeping your eyes on? Obviously, you're familiar with some of the drivers in this field, so who's kind of the one that you have your eyes on here?
I got to look at a couple names here, right? We got Fast Aston Wyatt, obviously a name that you can't mention Texas and not mention Aston Wyatt. He is one of the best mini drivers in the country in general, but especially here at the track that he does very well. He's a driver that I'm on the lookout for. You look at Alex Chandler for the Iron Rock boys, obviously the champion last year, right? Coming back here trying to, repeat the championship this year for the 196 machine. And you look further down, you got to look at Simon Jack Klein and say, he's a driver that you have to watch, right, for the SLA crew, making the trek from Florida up to here. And for Simon Jack Klein, a driver that you can't mention Mini Swift and not be like Simon Jack Klein is one of the drivers that's definitely going to be up there as well. You touched on Schneegenberg. He's had, I'd say it was an up and down year yesterday in his rookie season last year for Mini Swift, but podium at SCUSA Winter Series. He's looking to, take that next step now and be a really front runner contender this year.
Yeah, and a lot of drivers as well in this field. We talked about Aston Wyatt coming off a win as well at the SCUSA Winter Series at round number 4. So that's been something different. And you talk about differences here at the Texas Sprint Racing Series. A new light system as well provided by Joe Janowski and his team, bringing lights out here, and Brittany Lobau as well, making the decision to bring those lights and making everything more effective. We had an interview with Caden McQueen where he talked about the importance of track lights and how helpful those were for drivers and seeing where the track is green, where you can pass and where you can. And again, a huge shout out to the entire TSRS crew and Brittany Lobau especially for bringing these lights out here, as we know how helpful they are for all of us who are out there on the racetrack when we are driving.
Yeah, I mean, most drivers that I speak to, they prefer the light system over, using flags, using hand signals, right? Obviously, we still use the flags, but a light system's great. I mean, we talked to Caden McQueen, like you said, on the Grid Talk podcast, and he said, listen, when we asked him what's the biggest difference that he noticed when moving from the UK to here is they're used to already the light system over there. Some series, like you mentioned, Stars, now TSRS is adopting this light system. A lot of the drivers just prefer it. It's a little bit easier. It's more consistent. You can rely on it. And I think sometimes it's more clear when you have this flashing light to know, what flag's out there, what's going on the racetrack.
Yeah, correct. And you looked at, you kind of take a look at all the big motorsports, right? Everybody out there has lights, and everybody out there, you talk about Formula One, they have lights in almost every single corner. So that's one of the biggest things. That's one of the most helpful things. It's easy to kind of miss a flagman if he's not standing too close to the track and whatnot. So it's always good to have this system in play. That was Mini Swift there on the racetrack, presented by the Allen Rudolph Racing Academy. Now it's the Micro Swifts presented by Gallery Furniture here in Houston. And on the racetrack, a couple of drivers that we're also familiar with. Brody Stoffel, as well as Wiley Lee, I believe, is making his Micro Swift debut in Texas Sprint Racing Series action this weekend, as well as a couple of more. Dusty Strayer is back this year. Double duty for Dusty. Bodie Byer is back in the 210. Shep Sullivan, Brody Brown, a lot of drivers who we saw in Kid Kart last year and gave us a lot of great racing action are making their return. Sebastian Kim, Rodolfo Garza in the 222, Wyatt White, Ajax Capitan Garduno, and a couple of drivers go around here early.
As Bodie Bear there in the 210, 227 of Ajax Capitan Garduno. Ajax, the driver that we're usually seeing in the Orsalon crew.
Correct.
Now with the Red Speed crew this weekend, himself, Jose Carlos Hernandez, and a couple of other Orsalon drivers with the Red Speed team this weekend. But it goes to show you how easy it is. Bodie Bear, a champion last year, spinning on the outlap, and then a couple drivers got collected. But that's to be expected here under cooler conditions.
And the Red Speed team new to the scene this year, started a little bit last year, was pitting under the AR Academy tent. Then branched out with one of the mechanics, actually from Orsalon, Jonathan. Took on an importership for the Red Speed chassis here in the state of Texas, here in Houston, and is bringing a lot of drivers to try to promote his brand as well, with the likes of Jose Carlos Hernandez, Ajax Capitan Garduno, and a lot more drivers as well that are going to put his brand hopefully at the forefront of the field as well. We talked about a couple of drivers. Brody Stoffel, not in the typical Jay Howard driver development. Kart Republic colors, as Jay Howard obviously not coming out here. Busy schedule for Jay this year. So Brody moving under a hometown team here with the CRG Nordum crew, the CRG USA team, with you and Jeffrey and his stable this weekend. Brody still in the 229, and a couple of more as well. Beckley Anderson, another driver that we talked about last year, she moved up as well. She's in the 254. And the list goes on and on with a couple of more. Holden Henson, another name that I remember well from last year as well, in the 299. Hayden Sampson in the 291. Adam Torbaugh in the 277. A couple more as well.
Yeah, again, it's a warm session. A lot of these drivers just trying to log some laps, see where their kart stands. Yesterday was the more important day for getting settled for the drivers that were here testing, getting their practice in. Again, we call it warm-up because it is a warm-up, right? You want to go out there and see what your kart has, what lap you can put down, but the track's going to ever change throughout the day, right? This is the coldest it's going to be all day. We might, I don't want to, say it yet, but we might get a little bit of inclement weather throughout the day, and that'll change things, put a wrench in things as well for the drivers.
No, it might. Might isn't a word. It will rain at some point this weekend.
I don't want to go that far, but
look, spoiler alert for everybody here in the paddock. Spoiler alert for everybody who's watching on at home. It's gonna rain this weekend. It was about 100% when we checked yesterday, and we'll check here as well. But it's a 99% certainty that it's gonna rain this weekend. 45% at 10 a.m. Here local time, so that's in about an hour and a half. And then 40% over at 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. throughout the rest of the day. And a big storm hitting here in New Caney tonight, and it's about 50% chance of rain when we go into warm-up action tomorrow in the main event.
When you talk about the chances of rain, it sounds like it might happen middle of qualifying, and then we might get a drier heat number 1 towards the end, and then it's going to come right back for heat number 2 and heat number 3. So definitely going to be a challenge for these drivers, and obviously it's hard to predict. We never know. I know I'm from Florida, so it could say sunny day and then it's going to rain, and I think it's a little bit similar here for Texas, so you could probably attest to that more, Caleb. But at the end of the day, we can't predict the weather, but like you said, it's pretty certain it's going to rain. So again, this warm-up session, just seeing what you have, because you never know. Qualifying might be some wet weather tires.
Yeah, might is that word, and I'm going to hold you to that here, Alex, as well. We'll see if it might rain, but I'll tell you, it will at some point. Anyways, pulling around here with Brody Brown, a driver we're seeing kind of move up the ranks as well. He was in the Kid Kart class last year, had a couple of good race wins, and decided to move up early on in the year at about 6 or 7 years old. He's still under 8, if I'm not mistaken, and moves with the Fennec team that's notoriously known for the great development of young drivers. We talk about Royce Vega, who's also here from the state of Texas, Dutch Westbrook, who's out winning races on the National Series, and now you have Brody Brown, their newest driver here from Austin, Texas, I believe. His grandfather, better known as Mattress Mac here in the in the city of Houston, and supporting his grandson and everything that he's doing. And the kid's honestly really impressed and has really come a long way. Had a really good showing last weekend at the club race here, finished second in that one, and as well as continuing to improve day by day. And the team behind him as well is really happy to kind of get going. And Brody honestly impressed me a lot at the Supernats. Had a nasty wreck, but still wanted to get back into the race, right? We raced the rest of the weekend after that wreck and got back into it, and it really looked like he didn't skip a beat from there on.
Well, yeah, we got a chance to talk to Ronan a bunch throughout the weekend, and he raves about Brody, right? He's one of the next drivers, right, in line for being quick here in this microclass, up in the mini, and to the future of racing, right? We talk about that Bennick team and how good they've been in not only picking drivers to kind of develop in their career, but they all seem to be very quick, no matter what, if they're on that Bennick machine, and eventually their development programs have been very good. So for Brody Brown, he's definitely the next one on the list for Bennick to be like, that's going to be the guy that's going to represent our brand and our manufacturer. So he's only getting better as the year goes on, and I'm sure we'll be saying Brody Brown going to have a lot of hardware this year.
Yeah. Checkered flag in the air this time around, and as you can see our schedule here down below, the shifters are getting set to hit the racetrack next. And if you've kind of been up to date with our social media, a couple of I guess news coming out here in the state of Texas. Aiden Rudolph moving up to the shifter class. There's actually more news on that developed last night. Billy Musgrave, Jordan Musser, not here and not with us this weekend. Unfortunately, I know Billy had some business out in Phoenix and in the West Coast, and Jordan Musser didn't make the trek down from Dallas. So unfortunate there, and Aiden still wanted to race, and those two guys that were as quick as him weren't going to work their way out here. So a last-minute entry for Aiden Rudolph last night in the K8 100 class are putting them in the warm-up session this morning as well, and set to race back in KA for the weekend. Aiden Rudolph wanted to get back into the racing action, and he's back, I guess you can say, right? Back in KA for the weekend. They put that chassis together last night, got back to the racetrack at 7:30, put it back in the tent, engine on, and everything they had to do. But a quick turnaround for him. He's still about to come out onto the racetrack here with the shifters to get ready for the SCUSA Pro Tour when it comes to town in a couple of months in his own backyard. But yeah, a couple of news that developed last night there, Alex. So it'll be, I guess, a new wrench at that field, right, for the KA 100 Seniors. Obviously one of our marquee classes here at the Texas Sprint Racing Series.
Anytime you mention KA Senior and you mention TSRS or anything, you got to mention Aiden Rudolph. He's one of the best in the nation, no matter what series he runs. And so for Aiden to go out there, it shows he's a racer, right? Because he wanted to race against Musgrave, wanted to race against Musser. They couldn't make it. He's like, I want to still race against a lot of competition. So he's going to go out there, join the KA Senior class. We know he had a great battle last year with Jesus Vasquez Jr. and, down to the wire for that championship. So Aiden Rudolph, always a driver to watch, and especially at his home track.
Yeah, gonna be an interesting one once we get down to it. But shifter is gonna start to work their way out onto the racetrack. We're gonna have 10 here, but I believe only 8 are starting here this weekend. Noah's Arks for the Arcade Motorsports crew on a Sodi Racing USA machine. John Paul Mokori, as well with the Santa Ana Racing Company. Aiden Rudolph with the CRG Nordum. Billy didn't make the track out here. He was set to start, as well as Derek Proctor, who's here with the CRG Nordum and LSR engines, starting in the number 14. Jonathan Bischoff, another driver, so only 7. My mistake. And there's Aiden Rudolph out onto the racetrack now. Jeff Mills in the 25 and Luis Mendez in the 68. Those are going to be the drivers that are going to work their way out onto the racetrack here today. But a little bit of a change. It feels kind of weird to see him now, I guess, on our TVs here in a shifter. But if you remember back to, I believe it was either 2023 or 2022. I think it was the start of 2023 where Aiden actually ran a race here at the Texas Racing Series whenever it hit his home track for the opening round. He ran a shifter back when he was with Burrell Art. Moraine Kremers was here helping him out and coaching him. And now it's a full year ahead for Aiden Rudolph in the shifter category. So we'll see how he takes up, I guess, quote unquote, in the big leagues, right, Alex?
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, this is just more laps from the shifter, getting more and more comfortable, as you mentioned. I mean, he was quick yesterday for sure. Whether or not Musgrave and Musser were able to race, I think he would have put up a pretty good fight to those two guys. And again, just testing for Pro Tour, testing for the future of him in the shifter chassis. And I think this is good, right? Because we always talk about how we need more drivers moving up the shifter, right? That they always feel like they have to go from the KA to the X30, stay single speed. It's cool to see drivers make that trek over to shifter, because whenever we see it, it's usually a pretty decent transition for these guys. And I think once we have drivers like Aiden doing it, we're going to see more and more guys maybe in the KA side say, you know what, let's try the shifter package. And then more and more drivers are going to realize that they don't have to go all the way through the senior ranks to get the shifter.
Yeah, and again, even that, if you look past the senior ranks into cars, shifter, we always are big advocates for it. So I mean, again, this is a really high level of racing and a really high form and discipline of racing. Guys like Danny Formal always talk really well about it. And, again, Aiden got a pretty good response out of our social media posts as well. Everybody was happy to see that, and a lot of us as well from the sidelines. A lot of people from the industry were happy to see that. Race Labrante's comment saying, normalize kids moving up from KA to shifter and getting up into the pro ranks and getting up there. Saying that 6 gears were cooler than 1. So you're seeing it here, and hopefully this is kind of a start of something new, so you can see a lot of those drivers. And we've already seen a lot of drivers from the KA ranks move up to the X30 ranks, the likes of Overbeck, of Colin Lloyd, and a lot of other drivers. The list goes on and on, right, of these drivers that are moving up and being impressive already in the pro ranks. So we like to see that, and seeing these drivers develop as well is one of the biggest things as they grow older and as they mature.
It's not a new concept either. I know we've seen the likes of Jesus Vasquez Jr. test a shifter and be very quick at it. I've seen the onboard on his Instagram. It's really cool, actually, over at K1 Circuit. And so for Jesus Vasquez, for other drivers in the KA class, like you mentioned, like Race mentioned, we need to normalize it more of you don't have to go from KA to X30. Obviously, you could if you wanted to, but at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of drivers look at the shifter as a daunting, intimidating go-kart. And yeah, it's quick. It's got more gears than any other go-kart you're going to drive, but you can argue it's maybe the coolest, right? And like you mentioned, if the goal is to go into cars, we've heard a lot of drivers rave about how this is the step that you should get into, if possible, before you hop in a car. We know Dana Formal was on the Grid Talk podcast a couple months ago talking about how this is the go-kart you need to be in at least for a year before you go to a car. Obviously, you don't have to. We've seen a lot of drivers go straight from KA, from X30 right into a car, but this is as close as you're going to get. It's the fastest go-kart they offer, and again, getting used to banging gears and getting used to the physicality of it all, I think nothing gets you more in shape than driving a shifter.
Hey, you talk about world champions, Max Verstappen, a big KZ shifter driver for the CRG crew as well, and he obviously went up to F3, skipped F2, straight into F1, and now he's a 4-time world champion. I'm not saying it was a KZ, but it was a KZ. I would say that kind of did it for him. On the screen earlier was Jeff Mills, who we talked about a little bit earlier as well. Luis Mendez as well with the CRG crew. Funny story about Jeff Mills. He raced a lot of the national stuff last year as well. at the Stars Championship Series and a couple of other series at Newcastle Motorsports Park especially. It had been since 1997 the last time that Jeff Mills raced in wet weather conditions in the rain. That changed a year ago. It's been a year since he's driven in the rain, but now he's feeling a lot more confident than what he would have a couple of weeks ago. But Luis Mendez goes for a spin there. Not sure, but definitely not a way you want to start off your morning here, Alex.
I want to go back to Jeff Mills. You talk about, racing in the rain, having not driven in the rain for almost 2 decades, and then now it's another year of not being in the rain. It's one of those things where in a shifter, the approach is a lot different in the rain than it would be in a single speed. I mean, you got to really hustle it, right? Because you want to get heat in the tires. You want to keep the tires cool, but also get heat in the tires. It's like a really interesting balance you have to drive. And we know in general, when driving a shifter, the line is naturally a little bit different than it would be in a single speed. A lot of drivers tend to dime in the corners. That goes away in the rain, right? Your ability to actually dime in the corner is not as much. You have to break off line, then do the wide line. We see some shifter guys, some drivers in general, opt for using the curbs a lot. So it's different, and I think this track is one of the trickier ones when it gets wet to drive. And so for a shifter as well, and for Jeff Mills, it's going to be another challenge for him if and when it rains.
Yeah, so we'll see on the racetrack next will be your Kid Karts here, as well a couple of drivers, a couple of CRGs, I should say, working their way out onto the racetrack here in a couple of moments. But before we get into your 206 Kid Karts now, we'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, more of the warm-up action coming your way here live on Kart Chaser.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200?
I'm tired of all this Brandon business, okay? Brandon this, Brandon that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
Ready to elevate your racing game? Introducing Apex, your 24/7 personal karting coach. Apex is your ultimate racing companion. Get expert advice anytime, anywhere. From setup tips to mental strategies, Apex has you covered. Fine-tune your car for peak performance. Get personalized advice on adjustments like tire pressure and chassis settings. Apex helps you master the track, from overtaking strategies to wet weather driving techniques, and to resilience to perform under pressure. Apex keeps you focused, confident, and race ready.
Using Apex is simple. Sign up, ask your question, and receive instant advice from top-tier coaches. With Apex, your personal karting coach, you're never alone. Get instant expert advice on everything from setup to technique. Unlock your full potential with Apex. Your journey to victory starts here. Happy racing.
All the way up to the finish line. Who is it going to be? It's Sean Perez who wins in Crescent.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA100 Junior.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here. Told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Karts.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
All right, welcome back here. The 206 Kid Karts out onto the racetrack now. run you down that field order here as well. For these kid karts, the 77 out on the racetrack here with us now. And Alex, you, I believe, had a later start in karting than most of these young kids, but it's really good to see this many out here on the racetrack. Obviously moving over from the Honda power plant over to the Briggs & Stratton power plant here this year at the Tucson Racing Series, and again aligning with everything that's going on as well with Cup Karts North America and a couple of those other, I guess you could say, national series as well that hit the racetrack nationally at Cup Karts North America. That's about to have a huge event in 2 weeks' time that we're going to be out in Charlotte as well. But turning you down your field, 7 karts total here with us this weekend in the kid karts. The 77 there, JJ DeShong for the MSO Racing crew on the CRG kart. Maverick Reddick in the 75 for the CRG Nordum crew. Liam Guerrero for CRG Nordum in the 60. You go up to Liam Lofton in the 41. I believe, I don't want to speculate what team. I think it was the AR Academy, not sure. Booker Anderson with the GRC Motorsports team on the CRG kart, I should say. And then Wylan Galliano in the World Tour karting. Tony Kart out of Houston, Texas, and then Beto Baker with MSO Racing on the CRG kart as well from Fort Worth, Texas. So already good. I see you're getting into your Texas spirit as well here, Alex. A couple of cowboy hats worked their way up here somehow, I should say. But I guess good to see you in one of those.
I feel more at home now. I feel like I was missing something when I was up in the booth, and now cowboy hat on, I feel more involved. I feel more connected to you, Caleb. So now we can actually get rolling here in the booth. But you mentioned it on the kit kart side of things. I always love watching the kit kart class just because you get to get a good feel for the names that you can expect to see later on in micro and mini and junior, senior, all the way through the ranks. And you kind of get a little bit of a head start on seeing who's going to be really good as they grow into their career. And you touched on it. I wasn't too far behind these guys. I started in micro when I was 7, but I never got a chance to drive a kit kart. It's the only chassis, the only engine package that I haven't driven yet. But you mentioned it. Really good development program for these kids, and we've already seen a lot of them move up into micro this year.
Yeah, a lot of them, already moving up, and we're seeing a lot of them also start to go out and kind of venture out into the national side of things, which is always the exciting part for us, right? You see a lot of young drivers work their way out there. And a couple of new faces as well in this class. Of 75 here, Maverick Reddick, if the name sounds familiar to you. Houston Astros legend, Josh Reddick, his dad, actually, and I'm sure we'll be around here in the paddock as the weekend goes on. But Maverick already started racing about a year ago. Still very, very young, and seeing these kids kind of come through the paddock is always a really, really cute sight. As that Maverick, a little bit of a half spin there, trying to get through turn number 7. But yeah, his dad, obviously a former Astros player, and now I know his twin brother, Maverick's twin brother, is very big into sports, baseball, soccer, and all that stuff. But Maverick wanted to go racing, and I know his mom, Georgette, as well, was super happy to see him racing. She raced back in the day as well. I believe she said it was dirt bikes, and done some karting, and I think Maverick really took it on. Big Hot Wheels fan, I hear, as well, so he's been super happy about that, and I guess happy to be on YouTube as well here this weekend.
We all start as Hot Wheels fans. I feel like if you walk around the paddock and talk to any of the kids, that's what got me into racing. Besides the movie Cars, I wouldn't leave the house without a pair of Hot Wheel cars in my hand, so definitely a big thank you to Hot Wheels, I guess, for getting me into racing in the cars. So for the likes of Maverick as well, you mentioned it. It's adorable. It's funny to actually look at how tiny they are, right? I mean, you look at Maverick, the pedal box is as forward as it can go in that go-kart, and it's already the smallest go-kart they offer for CRG. So I love seeing it. I love seeing the discrepancy, I guess, in height as well for these kit kart drivers. Some of the drivers definitely grew a little bit faster than others, and it's funny to always see, maybe their helmets bigger than their actual suit and gloves as well.
Yeah, so there's a lot of those, I should say, CRGs out there, and that chassis is actually called the baby chassis. So these kids are not babies. I'm not saying that, but the fact they're out here driving and having a good time and going, who knows how many miles an hour is a really, really cool sight to see, and I'm sure they're going to give us some great racing action as well as this weekend goes on.
Yeah, they always give us really good action there. On our screen, we see the likes of Liam Lofton, on the 41 machine, the likes of Booker Anderson there, the 33 for CRG Motorsports. And you talk about some good racing action. We're already going side-by-side in warm-ups here. So for the Kid Karts, they always put on a good show for us. Always really fun to watch. And again, this is all part of just developing as a driver, getting a feel for it. Having a good time is like the most important thing that we like to preach for the Kid Karts and the drivers, the parents, and just making sure that the kids are having a good time and going out there and doing what they want to do.
Checkered flag in the air this time around for Booker Anderson and Liam Lofton. They're coming up next. Your K8 Juniors that has a pretty big field here this weekend, Alex. I believe they're going to split the groups here for the warm-up sessions, but a lot of drivers and a lot of familiar faces that are getting set to hit the racetrack here in a couple of moments' time. And you know, we talk about a lot of them, so we'll be right back here in a couple of moments. K8 Junior out onto the racetrack now. Nathan Wolseth and Olivia Gray out onto the racetrack here. 24 drivers total, and they did all make it out at the same time. So not split for the bigger classes. I believe they will split as Braden Westfall goes for a spin there on the out lap. But a couple of familiar faces here, Alex. Travis Pettit, after a sponsorship with TV Kart USA. Kyle Uchinsky, the official importer of the TV Kart chassis here in the U.S. A pretty good team for him. 3 drivers this weekend, and right next to him, the Slipstream Racing team with TV Kart as well. Travis Pettit making the trip out here to SpeedSportz Racing Park, as well as a couple of other drivers. John Burke, I know, is back in his seat now in a senior. So that'll be an interesting to see John super quick nationally, as well as here at the Sector Racing Series for many years. A little bit of a rebrand there for the Arcade Motorsports team as well, a new livery, and again, a big driver contingent here this weekend. And Peyton Phillips joining that team as well here this weekend. We saw those news come out on KC Grassroots as well. And GWR with the Berry brothers in the racetrack as well here, Alex.
Yeah, and I got to say, new helmet for Nate Golseth since we last saw him on Kart Chaser as well. So looks good. No longer rocking the full cue ball for Nate. So cool helmet there. Like you mentioned, new livery as well for those guys. And the Berry brothers here for GWR, looking fast and quick here so far this weekend as of yesterday's practice. But you mentioned it. It's a pretty stacked K8 Junior field. When you look down the list, you got to talk about Nico Lorenzo, right? Making his debut on Junior for the Kart Chaser side of things. I think he raced last weekend in Junior, Caleb, but his first regional Junior race this weekend.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, his debut in Junior here on our KC platform, raced over at Rock Cup USA for their Florida Winter Tour in the Junior ranks with the Iron Rock Motorsports team, and now back out here this weekend racing the TSRS, getting ready for the Pro Tour, I'm sure, as well, whenever it hits town here in a couple of weeks. Nico Reza off on the racetrack, over a couple of others, Jordan and Bonnie. There's Travis Pettit, Juanjo Paramo, and a couple of other drivers as well going around. But kind of a weird sight to see Travis Pettit out here all the way from New Jersey, but you know, it's good to see him out here as well, looking for some TSRS gold here this weekend, and as well a really good testing weekend with only a month out from what is set to be the biggest SCUSA race outside of the Supernats. I think it's expected, you know, to break a record. Obviously, a big TSRS base here, a big Texas base, I should say, and then with everybody from the national side coming over here to New Caney, Texas, we'll see. You know, we'll see them all kind of fill up this paddock and fill everything up here at SpeedSportz Racing Park.
Yeah, on your screen, you look at the likes of Travis Pettit. You got to go down to the 846 there. That is Bobby Klein, and then behind them, David Ibarra on the CRG Nordam package as well. So, good fast group here. Pettit, that opening couple of laps here in the warm-up session looks pretty racy, looked dicey with a lot of drivers around him. As we have one driver off, that's the 820. That's one of the Berry brothers. That's Mason Berry off the racetrack. You see hands up in the air. Clearly, somebody maybe he's frustrated with, but nonetheless, warm-up session. You never want to go off, because at the end of the day with a warm-up session, the biggest thing is just getting acclimated to what the track's going to be like for qualifying or close enough, seeing if any setup changes you made overnight work for the morning. And so anytime you go off, you pretty much burn that lap and the next one as well to get the tires back into a good window. So not ideal for Mason Berry, but you know the Berry brothers are quick. You know GWR is a good crew, and so should be able to get back on the horse here with a couple of laps left in warm-up.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing as well. Obviously going off the racetrack, not fun, but it's also, looking out of our window here, it is sprinkling right now. So the rain has definitely started, which is probably what's catching a lot of these drivers kind of by surprise right now. But it's definitely starting to come down. You said might, I said it will, and it is. I'll just give a little three-liner there, but yeah, it's definitely raining. Yellow flags in the air. And you see it. Carson Berry there, the driver who went Mason Berry as well. So
if I were these drivers at this point, it would not be surprised if every driver comes to the pits here. You're not going to learn a whole lot.
And as well, 206 is getting set to hit the racetrack, and I assure you, nobody has a cover on their air box. Not on their air box, on their air filters there. And
well, not only you see James Overbeck on the fence line there, feeling out for the rain. I don't really see many people with their kart stands with rain tires, so we can expect to see some frantic action here down on the grid soon, because I would presume if watching out there on the racetrack is anything to go off of, I don't think slicks are the tire you want to be on right now. Maybe you could put your tires in a better window tire pressure-wise, but ideally, as long as this rain continues.
Dry. It's still very dry out there.
Yeah, the track's dry, but it depends on what the radar is saying for how bad it's going to get, because I would hate to be out there and then it pours, and you don't have a box and air filter, and you know it's a rougher morning than you would have probably elected to have. So again, we're seeing drivers spin left and right. We're having to use the rain line essentially here at these slick tires. So I don't know how much more you're going to learn. I mean, I guess if we feel like it's going to rain for qualifying, it's maybe better to stay out there and just get a feel for what the track could be like, but with rain tires instead. So yeah, most drivers entering the pits, a couple drivers there spawn in the final corner, but most in the pits, no surprise there. And obviously Checker Flag is now out here at SpeedSportz for the Jr Warmup session. But the rain, I gotta say, because I'm looking out now, it stopped sprinkling. So it's one of those really quick showers. But now the track is a little bit less gripped up. It's still plenty dry for slick tires, but probably an extra warm-up lap is in the cards for a lot of these drivers.
I'm not a meteorologist, but I do have a radar on my phone, and from what I can see, it's just a little cell that was right over us. Small rain, but kind of zoom out here a little bit, and you see this other one that's getting closer here later on in the day. We'll see, but for now, it rained a little bit. That should be the worst of it, but again, going to be a very, very slick racetrack as they try to get it up to speed and throws a wrench at things for qualifying as well. Everybody kind of not sure of what to do whenever you hit that session in about an hour's time. That being said, 206 Senior out onto the racetrack, one of the classes I think that had the most action last year, Alex, and again, Bryce Frank in the MGM for MGM Texas, and Jam Racing and AR Academy was the driver who was able to take the win last year and take the championship as well. His name, Reagan Seville, was very close. It all went to the last round of the final race of the season, where Frank was able to hold on to it. But a couple of other drivers here, a couple of drivers that are pretty young. Josie Chambers, 14 last year, as JD Lamping off the racetrack there at the start, racing 206. And a couple of familiar faces that we aren't used to seeing out here. James Overbeck, Christopher McKeithen, gonna make their first TSRS start this weekend. So that'll be something exciting to see. And again, when you talk about these Coyote boys, working together, I think is some of their forte So we'll see how they do here against some of the drivers that are more familiar here. But again, two very, very quick and national level drivers. Obviously, James now racing in the pro categories, but he's still, again, going back to what he knows. Christopher McKeithen, former Grand National champion, and one of the best at what he does.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this for those two drivers is getting used to, getting back in the rhythm of things for 206. They have the CKNA Spring Nats coming up in a couple weeks' time at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So for Overbeck and McKeithen, and a couple other drivers in this field as well, we're going to be at CKNA Spring Nats. It's just getting your feet wet again, getting used to the 206 package. And for James Overbeck, like you mentioned, made the jump to pro side of things on the X30 package. So really cool to see. We talked about the KA side of things and how drivers should go. We're hoping to see more drivers maybe adopt the shifter step up. Overbeck decided to go the X30 side of things, and I'd love to see Overbeck at some point the shifter as well. But again, two names like you mentioned.
We were talking last year, and we're like, we'd love to see James Overbeck in an X30. You're never content with what this kid gives us, man. I mean, you saw him in an X30, now you want to see him in a shifter?
All three.
Well, there you go, right? But yeah, it'll be good. I'm sure his dad Matt isn't happy about hearing you say shifter. It's more money he has to spend, right? So we'll see. But yeah, these two drivers have been super quick as well this weekend, and again, a couple of others. These two are the ones that are going to be super close to those two Coyotes in the MGMs. Kelvin Zing, Bryce Frank. Kelvin had a really good race at the CKNA Grand Nationals, won a heat race, and has already put himself in the spotlight, but kind of showed it to the national guys that weekend as well. And Bryce Frank, super quick, and if it wasn't for an incident in 206 heavy qualifying there at the Grand Nationals, he would have been easily one of the contenders to look out for. But this year, carries the #1 plate compared to last year where he carried the #2 plate, and yeah, Bryce gonna try and hold on to that this year as well for the 666 at Kelvin, who's still looking for his maiden national, or I should say regional championship here at the Texas Sprint Racing Series. But these two drivers are going to be quick as always, as well as a couple of more. Cameron Reed back with the Reed Motorsports team in a good size tent for her as well this weekend. Her and her dad from Louisiana, bringing more and more drivers out here to the Texas Sprint Racing Series. And again, Cameron, always fast, out of the box champion as well for the first version of it over at Kid Kart North America not too long ago. And that was, Alex, if you're watching that one from home, that was a race where Cameron Reed impressed a lot of people, impressed us as well. And coming from nowhere, really, where she was having to work her way through, and over-under kind of got it done for her after a wreck right ahead. Put her in the spot to kind of capitalize, and she did. So we'll see how Cameron Reed can get it done. And Samuel Young in the 699 as well. We're used to seeing him in an Iron Rock Motorsports Tony Kart chassis that was actually Cameron Reed's. But now with the MGM crew, a new chassis for him this year, and has been quick. Had his maiden national podium, maiden regional race victory over at Odessa, Texas not too long ago. And again, still looking to get back onto that top step. And JD Lamping as well, a driver who we talk about, has raced in the national series and as well has been pretty big here in the regional stuff as well. So we'll look for JD Lamping to be impressive here this weekend, Alex.
Yeah, behind JD Lamping, you look at the likes of Adi Bomber there in the Tony Kart package, white helmet, Tony Kart Sue, and then further back, a couple more drivers. I was watching the way Bryce Frank and Kelvin Zing were wheeling their go-kart around this place, and for one, they're sawing at the wheel quite a bit, which shows that the track is still slicker than it was during the morning, even when it was colder, because of the light sprinkle we saw for the Jr Warmup. They were also shifting their body weight slightly forward out of the seat, just trying to get any grip to those front tires to get some bite in the front, so you can get the car to turn. Some drivers weren't electing to do that, so it goes to show you kind of which drivers were able to make some sort of setup change before the session, which ones were able to have to go out there for their dry setup. But nonetheless, yeah, this 206 class gonna be good. We got a pretty good pack here, Caleb, of about 5 drivers there. One of the CRG Nordam drivers getting passed down the back straightaway.
Yeah, Sam Toll with the Reed Motorsports crew, and if you, I guess, are big into social media, you'll see the return of one of our very own here, Rocco Ruzic. As many of them know, the Croatian sensation making his return here. This kid's led laps at this very racetrack about 2 years, or 3 years ago, I should say now, to the day, and he makes his first start in 206 racing action in quite some time. So good to see Rocco back. He obviously joined me last year for a full year of announcing, got a different perspective at it, but back in the seat this weekend, and again, it's been a long trek back, but he's back and he's excited to get that going. So again, good to see Rocco out there on the racetrack and putting in some laps in what a chassis that he's been super comfortable in, the Tony kart. So we're excited to see Rocco back. Welcome back to racing action. Had a long trek, I should say, in the Miatas. Was Rookie of the Year over in California. So it's good to see him back in some 206 racing action. Very similar to Miata racing, I would say. So it's exciting to see Rocco back, and again, good to see one of our very own hit the racetrack here.
He'll be a sleeper this weekend, I gotta say, because he's a driver that knows his place, knows the 206 package, and I think he's a smart driver. He's very smooth. Watching his hands there, actually one of the smoother that I saw out there on the racetrack. So it goes to show you that he feels comfortable in that OTK package. You know, he really likes it. He raves about it. That's the chassis that he always elects to choose when he's riding the 206 side of things. So for Rocco Rustic, like you mentioned, for one, good to see him back in a go-kart, but two, I think he's a driver that you can't underestimate this weekend at a chance at a podium.
Yeah, and again, right, it's been a long trek back. You got to think about the drivers who have been in the seat and have that seat time, which is what we talk about. That is one of the most important parts of kind of go-kart racing, right? Is being in the seat very, very, very frequently. So we'll see how it goes as the 206 cadets get set to hit the racetrack here in a couple of moments. Tyler Moravietz, first driver to lead them out for the XBEL GFC chassis. So we'll see him hit the racetrack here, as well as a couple of the factory karts. And Billy probably isn't here, but his chassis are here, and that shows you all the hard work that's kind of gone on for him. We had him on the podcast as well not long ago, Alex, and he talked about opening up their new shop and working on that, and having a specific room when we want to have him on as well, which is quite frequently. And hopefully, if Billy's watching at home, we wish you were here this weekend, but we're glad to see that business is booming, as we like to say, right?
Exactly, yeah. For Billy, a driver that I think, at least when you look at like Aiden Rudolph, he probably wishes that Billy Musgrave is here just to get a good idea for where he matches up against one of the nation's best. But for Billy, obviously, whenever you can't race because of business, it means that you're probably doing pretty well for yourself, and we know that the factory kart package is only growing as the years go on. We saw at Supernats, he debuted his brand new rig. It looks unbelievable, that hauler, Caleb. And yeah, we know he got the new shop over in Arizona, and it's just growing and growing and growing for Billy Musgrave and factory karts. And so for a driver that unfortunately couldn't compete this weekend, couldn't even be here, I'm sure he's watching his factory kart contingents go out there and hit the racetrack and be quick, as we've come to expect the factory kart boys and girls to be.
Correct, as we follow them around the racetrack now. And again, these 206 cadets, I believe over the 10 mark, I think we have a good number. And again, a lot of drivers doing double duty here as well. We have Flex, Birdie Stoffel, Aston Wyatt, Tyler Moravietz as well. And that list also pretty long with the drivers. 19 karts total there. It took me a while to find it. My mistake, but 19 karts total here this weekend. Caden Lehans, Mace Lechsek, Dramagelis Vargas, Benjamin Osborne, Killian Short, Drew Blem, Sebastian Kim, Aston Wyatt, Dusty Strayer, double duty for him this weekend as well. Under the Paralin, Milo Podoraki, White, Brody Stoffel, Olisa Anderson, Jolivet, Hale, Morowek, my mistake, Moravietz, Samson, and Todd making their way out onto the racetrack here as well. But again, 19 karts total shows you a pretty healthy field, and again, that 206 package healthy as well here in the state of Texas.
Yeah, the 206 cadet package is kind of like that in between, right? Where if you maybe don't want to do micro, or you see some drivers do double duty in cadet and micro, but if you want to get a couple more, laps, a couple more sessions, more races, maybe a year under your belt from the jump from Kid Kart into 206 cadet, you see a lot of drivers doing that because this 206 cadet package is one of those that you really learn a lot, right? It's not as quick as the micro, not as quick as the mini, obviously, but it's quick enough, and it requires you to be smooth because it's the slowest 206 package besides Kid Kart, right? So it's one of those things where if you make a mistake, it's exaggerated out on the racetrack, and so you see a lot of drivers, a lot of parents and kids elect to choose this class rather than the microswift class. Obviously, financially, a little bit easier for a lot of people, and two, I feel like it's a really good development package. And so for a lot of drivers that are in this 206 cadet field today, this is either their debut or their second year running, and they're deciding, you know, this is the year they want to do double duty like a couple of drivers. But all in all, you're seeing this is the future, right, of racing. We always have to call the kids, whether it's 206 Cadet, Micro, Mini, the future of racing. But you can't count out the 206 Cadet package as one of those that you really learn a lot.
206 Cadet here on the racetrack, presented by Speed Racing Concepts. We've had Shifter hit the racetrack as well. That was sponsored by Arcane Motorsports. The Micro Switch presented by Gallery Furniture. 206 Senior presented by Slipstream Racing. And again, it's a big group of people that helps put this on, help put this series on as well. A big group of sponsors that we'd like to say thank you to. Studio 52, photography with Ken and Kayla Johnson as well. ROV with the Fast Lap, Shaw Stickers with the Fast Lap as well. And GFC and Trackside for the banquet dinner, Kart Racing Solutions as well, the banquet dinner, as well as Samson Precision Performance Karting, John Seglum and his crew for the lanyards that we have for our hard cards, Avinco Tire, as always, and a lot more that make it all possible for us to go racing, right? And in order to go racing, you need some time, so huge shout out to our crew here and TSRS crew as well for getting that live timing up for us as well on the left-hand side of our screen. So there you have who's going to be, or who's the fastest on the racetrack now with some time still left on the board. But again, a huge shout out to our crew here this weekend. It is very, very cold, so a shout out to the entire crew that makes this possible for us. Taylor Burris, Gabby Selvin out there on the cameras for us going through the weather, and then in here, Riley Kane, Brandon Simone, and us too here as well, Alex. But again, it's very hardworking crew that we have, and super thankful for the crew that we have as well. And drivers as well. Riley Kane was a driver here at the Texas Sprint Racing Series, did a lot of KA racing. Brandon wasn't here in Texas, but used to be Shop AKR factory driver with us, one of our big sponsors, so good to see him back. And you as well, former Grand National Champion, Mr. Alexander Searle, and me, just a former DFW Triple Crown race winner. There you go, Preston, Texas.
And flipper.
All right, let's not get into that. Let's get into the racing action on the racetrack here. Checkered flag getting set to go out here in a couple of moments. And again, looks like still the fastest. Moraviet's still quicker than the rest. Podoraki in second, Aston Wyatt third. White, Drew Blem, your top five so far and early on this morning. So we'll see how they continue to progress. But a good field, good healthy field, and only 16 hit the racetrack here this morning.
Yeah, a couple drivers decided not to go out there on the racetrack, but as checkered flag comes out, Tyler Moravietz tops the board, 7,000ths between himself and the likes of Podoraki there in P2. Fast Aston Wyatt third, doing double duty this weekend. One of the many drivers doing 2 classes this weekend between Micro Mini and 206, 2 of those 3 classes. So yeah, that's the end of 206 Cadet warm-up here. We got a couple more to go before we get to qualifying action.
Okay, Masters out onto the racetrack now. Miguel Mir out there as well. Lost his #1 plate last year, but is looking to take it back with the Cruise Racing Development team here this year. And it's been, I should say, a wild year in KA, both for the Masters and for the seniors. That being said, it was a wild year in 2024. We're expecting the exact same thing here in 2025. But let's take a look back at how it all started in 2024 back at NOLA Motorsports Park.
Of the Texas Sprint Racing Series. Rudolph and Robertson lead us to green, and we are racing here in KA 100 Senior. A good start so far by Aiden Rudolph.
Bunching up the field a little bit better than we saw from the heat race yesterday. Oh, heavy contact. Place for Robertson. He's getting a little bit of help up on the inside. Freight train now on the inside line. And now Aiden Rudolph just has to settle in. One going off wide there.
That's JD Lamping. JD Lamping off the racetrack.
Jesus Vasquez Jr. is now up in front. Robertson getting shuffled back again. Now the 952 of Justin Music is up into second.
Robertson looking down the inside on Justin Music. Robertson is clear up to P2 for Robertson. Oh, we have a spin. That's Diego Guillo who goes around out of turn #3. Diego Guillo goes around, and that puts an end to his day as he's on the edge of the racetrack. Another driver off and into the wall. Adrian Cruz out of the race as well.
Here comes Robertson up on the inside. Does he have him cleared? Yes, and there comes Rudolph trying to follow. Does he have the point? Rudolph gets by, and so does your 4th placement of Phillips. Oh, wow. Into the wall. They're going to blow right by Aiden Rudolph, and now they're going to go 2 for 1 on the inside. Rudolph now goes back to 3rd. Phillips on the point. Vasquez Jr. up into P2.
There goes Rudolph on the inside of 11. Rudolph down the inside and clear. Back up in a P2 as Aiden Rudolph now to the bottom of the racetrack with Jesus Vasquez Jr. pushing. Peyton Phillips. Vasquez goes even lower to the lead of the race. Jesus Vasquez Jr. over, under, crossover, move by Aiden Rudolph.
Now going to be up a point, and here it goes again. Vasquez Jr. back up on point. Is there a crossover move in this final corner? I think Rudolph is going to back off here a little bit.
Rudolph now to the bottom of the racetrack with Phillips pushing here. The champion pushes Rudolph by. Rudolph back to the point of the field with Robertson looking to go as well. Vasquez looks back, sees Robertson is there as well, and Rudolph back into the line. Robertson out of nowhere sends it down the inside on Rudolph.
And now deep send up the inside there for your 2nd placement to the point, and that is Peyton Phillips now up in front. Nose to tail. Here comes Vasquez Jr.
Vasquez Jr. down the inside. Skinner going to push his teammate by as well. Not close enough for Landon Skinner. Robertson going side by side there for a second. And Jesus Vasquez Jr., I was going to say back to the point of the field, but Peyton Phillips, the reigning champion, back up and for this year as Vasquez goes low, Phillips goes lower, and then down the inside, Peyton Phillips to the point of the field. Robertson as well, side by side in between the two of them. Braden Robertson and Peyton Phillips get together. Still Vasquez on the inside. Rudolph tries to get it done. Out of nowhere, Blake Nash and Aiden Rudolph.
Side by side, Rudolph on point.
Aiden Rudolph into turn #11 we go. Down the main straightaway, Aiden Rudolph. The streak is ended. 643 days are over. Aiden Rudolph wins in NOLA. Alex Stanfield down the back straightaway for the first time this weekend.
Seems like it was just yesterday there, Alex, but a long time ago there, for about a year ago, I should say, a little more than that now, that we were out in NOLA Motorsports Park. Still on the schedule this year, but going to be later on in the year, I should say. So that'll be an exciting one when we get back there. It provided really good racing action last year. And again, we're excited to see how it kind of plays out this year as well. But Miguel Mir, the fastest on the racetrack now. Daniel Howie, 2nd. Shane Burkett to Britton Harper and Slade Miller, your top 5. There, Gary Glanger, in 6th. Janae Din, Neil Faulkner, Curtis Terry, and Cal Hale, your top 10. And a couple of drivers not out onto the racetrack now. It should have been about 18 drivers total, but Randy Rogers didn't make the track out here. Pierce Baldus not on the racetrack. Jonathan Westcott as well. Pergande not out there. Trevor McAllister, owner and I guess team principal of Arcade Motorsports, not on the racetrack either. So only 10 drivers made it out here early on, Alex.
Yeah, a couple drivers not elected to go out, and what that tells me is a couple things. One, the Masters guys don't want to go out there and use up their stuff, and 2, they probably feel like the track just isn't where they want it to be right now. They're not going to learn a whole lot here in this warm-up session to even go out there and risk going off. We've seen some drivers spin so far in this warm-up session. Really, since the rain fell for that KA Junior warm-up session, since then, I think this track is kind of fallen off a little bit. Obviously, the track right now is clearly good for dries, but the track just doesn't have any grip on it. It's not laying the rubber down as much as people would think this morning, just about how cold it is. And so it goes to show you when these drivers are going off, and some, again, like you mentioned, half the field really electing not to go out in the warm-up session. So interesting strategy, but I don't fully blame them for that.
Yeah, agreed. A lot of them not going out here early on, but that makes sense. Your K8 100 Masters 206 Junior hitting the racetrack next, and we're going to end up with your K8 100 Seniors as well in about a couple of, I should say, 20 or 10 minutes time here later on as well. 206 Junior, a couple of drivers moved up from the cadet categories and worked their way into the junior class. Sr Chambers, one of those with in the Intrepid. We saw him have a really good showing out at the CKNA Grand Nationals as well as the Winter Nationals, where he did really good in junior, and now his first regional start here on our platform for Sr Chambers, as well as a couple of other drivers. 14 drivers total. Dustin Walker makes his start this weekend. Francisco Reyes, Brandon Green, Easton Walker, Dean Gearier, Ava Blem, Levi Meter, Mia Johnson, Sawyer Chambers, Aloya, Colton Edwards, Presley Peterson, Michael Massad, and Thomas Smith, the 14 drivers that are getting set up at the racetrack here, Alex. Couple of drivers went around there. One of the Walker brothers, I believe it looked to be Easton, if I'm not mistaken, that went around there early in this one. But 14 drivers total for your 206 Juniors presented by TB Kart that are hitting the racetrack now. And again, a couple of these drivers have been quick. So your Chambers is one of the drivers that we're expecting to be up there and up at the front. So we'll expect to see how he kind of comes along here in this one. For him and his brother Josie have done a really good job and have kind of flourished in being the younger drivers in the field, I should say here, Alex. They both, I mean, Josie was the youngest in the senior ranks last year at only 14 years old, and he did a really, really good job, especially when we got to the end of the year at the CKNA Grand Nationals, and really was really impressive there. And again, we'll see how Sawyer kind of lives up to it as well, kind of like his brother did. But expect to see him up at the front as well here this year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, with this 206 junior class, all the drivers are out there on the racetrack at least this time, unlike the KA Masters, but should be a good class. We saw last year some pretty good battles, just like in the 206 senior class, and in general, 206 provides some really good racing action here at SpeedSportz Racing Park. I mean, it's just one of those things where this track races so well. There's 372s around from the TB karts, and got some argy-bargy here further back here, Caleb.
Yeah, the 300 there, the one that spun, Dustin Walker, went around, as well as one of the AR Academy drivers. Couldn't tell who that was. That's 374 there of Presley Peterson, who went around, got together with Dustin Walker, I believe, trying to avoid one of the TB karts that also went around. Not sure who that was. I know Brandon Green is on a TB kart there as well, so not sure who went around, but yeah, definitely not, I guess, the start they would have wanted. But times right now, 106.708, and I think the track could still be a little bit off considering the fastest times that we see out here, Alex, that the seniors usually doing towards the 102s, low 102, 102 flat, what some of these drivers were doing yesterday, and even last weekend we saw a couple of records be broken, a couple of 101s out there, so it means this track is getting faster, and we'll see how it kind of progresses this weekend. But from the looks of the weather, if it can hold off, I guess we'll sit here and hope that it does hold off, right? So we'll see how it kind of gets through as the year goes on.
Yeah, on your screen right now you have Levi Maeder behind the 360 machine. That is Rodrigo Pelaya there, and again, like you mentioned, the lap times continuing to tumble down, and right now, there you go. The Levi Maeder, the 316 machine, goes to the top of the board, a 1:05.0. You mentioned the lap times were still about a couple seconds off, I'd say, the lap times that you were seeing, you know, earlier on this weekend and last week as well. So, again, the track off, as expected. It's colder, still slightly damp, I'd say, from the drizzle that we saw earlier on as well. So, drivers still getting acclimated to the racetrack, and it's going to be an interesting day, I'd say, because anytime you have weather, you know, inclement weather in the area, for one, it keeps you on your toes setup-wise, but two, you really don't know what it's going to be like during your race. So you have to always be on the lookout for what's going to happen. For all you know, you have a dry race. For all you know, you're walking on the grid and it starts to rain. I know a couple times that I've had situations where, you know, I had dry tires on and I looked at the radar and it was supposed to rain basically lap number 2 of the race, and I went out there on rain tires and kind of went for the gamble, right? So I'm sure we'll see that throughout the day as well, and that makes it really fun. It puts the pressure not only on the drivers, but on the teams and the mechanics as well to kind of make that call.
Yeah, we'll see how and what they decide to do once we get down to it here later on today. A couple of the other drivers here on the racetrack, a couple of ones that we haven't highlighted yet. The 360 out there on the racetrack, that's Pelaya, and again, I believe it's his first TSRS race start with the Santa Ana Racing Co. This weekend, and it looks like the group with him as well is pretty quick. I'm not sure if that's 15 or 16 there. What's the 15? That could be Ava Blem, and it's the 316 indeed. So we'll see. That's, sorry, my mistake. Levi Maeder, who's the fastest driver on the racetrack so far with a 104.615. And yeah, the two drivers there on your screen, two quickest on the racetrack now. So a couple of new faces. Chambers sits down in 8th. Still looking for some time, and again, you're kind of seeing why that is, right? You have Pelaya and Maeder working together, pushing each other along, which is usually quicker, gets the revs up in these 206 engines, and for Chambers out there on his lonesome, so still looking for pace for Sawyer Chambers, and again, gonna have to find somebody to work with once he gets down to it.
Yeah, for sure, and this track flows well for the 206 class. 2 is usually faster than 1, 3 is faster than 2 usually in 206, no matter what track you go to. But around this place, if you don't have a drafting partner, you're out of luck, right? And so that's why you're seeing a lot of these drivers on the top of the board, especially like Levi Maeder and Pelaya. It's no shock that they're working together throughout this session here, going 1 and 2, 3 thousandths separating the top 2 206 junior drivers here. So these are going to be the 2 to watch for qualifying, and for the rest of the field, they have a couple attempts to go out there and find, and I have a feeling a lot of that is just due to the fact that they couldn't find a drafting partner. Looking out the window here at the broadcast booth, there's not many drivers working together. They're all trying to go solo, which sometimes, because at the end of the day, there isn't a trophy for winning warm-up, sometimes it's better off to go by yourself. Go out there, get a good feel for the go-kart, feel what you need to improve or what has improved from yesterday. So oftentimes when you see drivers go out there by themselves and wonder why they're not having a partner to work with and somebody to draft off of, it's because they're testing something. And you never really know what the game plan is before a warm-up session for teams and drivers, but I think we had a good feel for it there in 206 Junior.
K100 Senior getting set to hit the racetrack here now. Preston Pico there, and Justin Music as well. All these drivers are trying to keep warm, and a couple of new things coming out. I mean, we heard the developments from last night. Aiden Rudolph deciding to run this weekend in KA Senior, wanting to get into some racing action, and we'll see how it goes for him, as well as a couple of familiar faces, but in different chassis, I should say. You have James Overbeck, the debut, I should say, of Coyote chassis for James Overbeck, a two-cycle specific chassis this weekend. John Segelman, Jim Lipari built something for this weekend, and for the two-cycle side specifically as well. Obviously, they have been really good about their four-cycle chassis, and it continues to improve year after year, and now trying something different this year. James is debuting something different. They obviously had it at Trackhouse Motorplex earlier, I should say last year. Paulie ran one, and I know McKeithen tried one out as well. But now James is getting to race it outside of a quote-unquote club race that they have, and he's going to race it this weekend, as well as a couple of other drivers that are going to be back here this weekend. But there's James. There's that Coyote chassis and the livery that we're so used to seeing it with a Precision Performance Karting team. And we'll see how he stacks up against the rest of the field. The first time everybody has transponders on as well. So we'll see how James and that Coyote chassis stacks up on the rest of the field. Adrian Cruz, the driver that's right ahead of him, who again is also really quick here once we get to Texas Sprint Racing Series racing action. So we'll see how they all stack up. Only half of the field out on the racetrack now, the other half getting set to come out here in a couple of moments.
Not many drivers you can think of ahead of James Overbeck in terms of being able to wheel a KA package, and for Seglum and for Coyote, it's no shock that they had him. Obviously, he's one of the Coyote ambassadors, but to go out there and really give us a shot, what the Coyote package can do on the KA side of things, really, really cool to see. And again, I expect them to be up front, towards the front at least, still getting some of the their bearings straight, right? Understanding what it's like to develop a package on the KA side of things versus 206. And so for Overbeck, not many drivers you could think of that are probably better for it in that situation. James French there behind him, Hayden Phillips as well. There on the 907. So a good crew here. Only one half, like you mentioned, of the KA side of things.
Yeah, sorry. Both halves out on the racetrack right now. Peyton Phillips here, Jake French got through, as well as a couple of others. Mac Parks, I know, is stuck in there. Santiago Duran, and a lot more as well, working their way through. And a couple of other faces. Cohen Summers is back. Ibrahim Din as well out there on the racetrack. Drivers that we're used to seeing here in regional racing action. So we'll see how they all stack up here as well, with just about 2 minutes left to go in this session. And again, we continue to see how they stack up. Jose Carlos Hernandez still the quickest with the Red Speed Racing team here this weekend. So we'll see how Jose does. A couple of other stories. John Burke for the TB Kart team makes his return to Texas Sprint Racing Series action this weekend. Got the call from Kyle Uchinsky to race with the TB Kart USA team. And again, been a year away almost for John Burke, where he wasn't in the seat as much, and got the call and took it and raced at Daytona Kart Week. Back this weekend and looking to make a mark on the field. But Phillips has been the one that they are all chasing here as well with the Arcane Motorsports crew. And there's John Burke working his way around and into the pits early in this session for John Burke. Something amiss there this warm-up session. And again, just a moment for him to knock out whatever gremlins that he has. But continuing to work his way through. Dunlap up into the top 10. Burke finished 5th. Hernandez down in 7th. And everybody else working their way through here, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, it's never ideal when you have to pull in early on a warm-up session, and looking over at your engine, it goes to show me, like you mentioned with John Burke, something he was not happy with, I'd say, on board the KA side of things. And so in a class this close, this stacked, it is tough to lose lap time, and especially on a warm-up session where you're probably still testing some things from yesterday overnight, working hard, seeing what type of package you really have. And the track's starting to improve again here before qualifying, and if the rain stays away, this is probably a similar racetrack to what you're going to expect for qualifying. So you want as many laps as you can under your belt this morning to get a good feel for what you're going to have for qualifying in about an hour's time. And get a good look at Jesus Vasquez Jr. here up on the wheel. 5th right now, warm up. A quarter of a second separates your top 5, less than a 10th between Phillips and Rudolph. So Rudolph, considering it was a last minute put together overnight for KA Senior, a driver like you mentioned earlier on in the shifter side of things, you can't count him out in KA. Obviously, runner-up last year at the championship, and wants a little bit more this year.
See what, Vasquez is quick, but look who just went to the top. James Overbeck on the Coyote chassis, and if boss man Brandon Jarsakrak is watching on from home, if Jim Lapari's watching, whoever has their eyes on this is going to be happy to see that Coyote chassis seems to be working here in two-cycle as well. James Overbeck just put it to the top with a 55.221, and just as impressive, Preston Pico up into third. And would you look at that, Aiden Rudolph in his backyard, quickest of the morning here, and that's for a last-second put together for missing a Friday practice. Alarms, I guess, sound the alarms right there for the rest of the field as the rest of the drivers
just the music
cross the line now. And again, this is going to be a very, very close field. We see all the shuffling. I just can't wait for qualifying, man. It's gonna be one to keep up with, really.
Yeah, for sure. We see one driver off of the 946. Parker Fitz there, right on the front straightaway. So not where you want to go off, but I wonder if it was a mistake or an engine issue. But nonetheless, checkered flags in the air for warm-up, and Phillips tops the board. Music, Vasquez, French, and Overbeck a 10th separates 1 through 5, and that's a pretty cool top 5 indeed. Rudolph 6th. Pico, Reddy, Carlos Hernandez, and Hansa Anbar round out your top 10. 4/10 between 1st and 10th. This is a track that invites great racing. The KA package loves this racetrack, and I think we're in for a treat.
Oh, for sure. We're about to get into qualifying action here in a couple of moments. A quick drivers meeting on our side here. So a pause in the schedule, a pause in the action for a little bit. That starts at 9:30. So we'll be back at about 9:45 with Mini Swift qualifying. So again, go grab your breakfast, grab whatever you want. Qualifying, getting set to hit the racetrack. And again, for the heat races 1 to 3, 2 and 3 later on today is going to be exclusive for KC Premium members only. Again, only $9.99 a month on our official Kart Chaser YouTube channel. You watch all the racing action live all month long from every single series that we go to. We have a busy, busy month of March. You're going to want to subscribe and not miss any of the racing action, especially when we come back here as well to SpeedSportz Racing Park. We'll be right back in about 20 minutes time, so we'll see you guys back for that.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR, with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today. DPK Americas is bridging the gap between the U.S. and the 2-time world champion DPK Alonso Kart factory team in Europe.
In partnership with Team Binnick, they offer drivers a complete career path from the Americas to Europe that allows them to continue their driver development on both sides of the world, all underneath the DPK umbrella.
For more information, contact DPK Americas at max@drivensm.com to take the next step in your driver development journey today. A lot of go-karts here and on track at the same time as Alex Stanfield looks for the move down the inside on Jesus Vasquez Jr. Alex Stanfield leads. That would lead change once again. Jesus Vasquez Jr. on teammate Landon Skinner.
Not close enough on the inside of Alex Stanfield. Is going to make up a spot there, though. And there goes Peyton Phillips.
Peyton to the inside of Jesus Vasquez Jr. Huge dive bomb there, and he makes it, and he is in P1 now.
3 carts, couldn't get it done, but Alex Stanfield up to P3. Side by side for the lead, it's Alex Stanfield and Jesus Vasquez Jr. Once again, Stanfield not going to go defensive, thinks he can outbreak Vasquez Jr. Can he hold on to it around the outside? Rudolph on the inside, not close enough there on the outside of turn number 7, not close enough. And that's Truly Adams. Oh, wow, Landon Skinner and Truly Adams get together. Landon Skinner gets slowed way down and on the apex of that corner.
Stanfield, Peyton Phillips down the inside of Aiden Rudolph.
Close enough to attempt the move. Rudolph goes on Phillips. The Californian has kept it perfect. The Texans weren't able to deny him. Jesus Vasquez Jr. wins in Houston. For the start of this race, Jesus Vasquez Jr., Adrian Cruz lead us to green, and we are racing here. NKA 100 Senior goes Alex Stanfield on the inside of Jake French. Not close enough as of yet. He is now Alex Stanfield up to the second position. But there goes Jake French looking to deny that. The factory card up to second. Cruz going to muscle his way through as well.
And Leo on Rudolph. Now you see a change for the lead. There is Jake French going down the inside of the bowl, getting the lead of Jesus Vasquez Jr. Come back, and Adrian Cruz is going to follow through and try to get P2 from Jake French.
He's going to look on the inside. He does to the bottom of the racetrack. There goes Jake French. Not close enough on Jesus Vasquez Jr. He is now, and back to the point of the field here. Jake French, your new leader, and a crossover move, a heads-up move by Jesus Vasquez Jr.
He goes defensive, Jesus Vasquez Jr. Jake French gets caught around the outside. I think Truly Adams going to get their 3 wide for second place all the way in. Yeah, Truly Adams tries to slot through there. He's going to get freight trained, though, by Cruz and behind. There goes Cruz. Can't get around Jake French. No, he does. Jake French runs super wide and loses a bunch of positions there.
Rudolph going to the outside. Is he going to have any help? Not as of yet. Gonna have a good run though. Out to the main straightaway. Does Rudolph have it? No! Into the grass for Aiden Rudolph. Looking to make moves. Jake French going to the outside. Truly Adams looks to go.
Oh my goodness!
And the contact in between Adams.
Check that's now up ahead. Jesus Vasquez Jr. and that's
bumper. Stanfield to the point of the field. Gives a little bit of a bumper there to Vasquez Jr.
And as you see, Aiden Rudolph down the inside of Alex Stanfield.
Up 10 spots. There goes Aiden Rudolph on the inside of Landon Skinner. Are they closing down? Rudolph knows he's quicker. Wants to go up to second. I'm making the move, and Ibrahim Din absolutely flying on the main straightaway. Goes up to second. Rudolph falls back to fourth here. If anybody lets him slot in, and 3 wide up the main straight. It's Din. Rudolph on the bottom of the racetrack, gonna have the push from Peyton Phillips. Can they get through on Vasquez Jr.? Not close enough. At the bottom of the racetrack, he's clear out the moment from Jesus Vasquez Jr., who's gonna crowd him to the bottom. Aiden Rudolph goes to the point. 2 laps to go. Has to get creative. Jake French around the outside. Is he close enough to get it done on these 2 drivers? Not as of yet. French drops a tire, and out of nowhere, Peyton Phillips takes the lead. A heads-up move. Rudolph wasn't close enough. Nobody gonna deny him. He kept his nose clean. Peyton Phillips wins in Crescent. Aiden Rudolph second. Jesus Vasquez Jr. third. For the final time this weekend, the green flag is out, and we are racing in K100 Senior. Buddy Vasquez Jr. already to the point. And Rudolph looking to slot back in a line inside of Peyton Phillips. A couple of contact. JD Lamp gets collected in front of the field. Clements is off. Frank is off.
So you see Peyton Phillips now go down to the inside after that with Aiden Rudolph following through. Jesus Vasquez Jr. falls all the way down to P3.
I was able to get clear. He's up to P5. There goes Vasquez on the inside for P2. He's able to get clear. Rudolph drops the tire into the dirt. He slots back into fourth. French going to slot back into the third spot. Very hungry wolves, and you see it there. Pagano on the inside of Jake French. The X-Teams get together. Junior Vasquez on the inside into turn number 3. He's able to get clear. Has put on the fight to all these drivers as Rudolph goes on the inside of Peyton Phillips. Does he wait? He's going to go in turn number 3 on the inside. He's able to get clear.
Fit the second group. As you see, Jesus Vasquez Jr. shoot down the inside of Aiden Rudolph. A late lunge. Peyton Phillips, too, with the switchback. Tries to get a nose down to Jesus Vasquez Jr. He has to give room as Peyton Phillips takes the lead. Aiden Rudolph and Herrera, his teammate, push through. Let's see if Aiden shoots down the inside. Coming into turn 3, he will. And down the inside goes Aiden Rudolph and covers it. So Peyton Phillips let him by, basically lifted through the corner for the win. So as they come around, you see Vasquez now down the inside of Peyton Phillips. Herrera's going to follow through, and Peyton Phillips gets pushed a little bit to the outside.
And now he was set for a full year. He's set for a full move into turn number 1. He's able to get clear. Rudolph looking to over-under. Who's Herrera going to push here? He's looking. Can Rudolph get clear into turn number 5?
Doing it every single lap, so a big spin. You saw him get sideways there, deep on.
Beckett, Friesen aren't too far off. There goes Phillips on the inside of Herrera. 2 rookies who moved up from junior last year. Buddy on the inside of Phillips.
looking over under. They go side by side, hands in the air. They're kind of confused as to why they're fighting for second here.
And Jesus Vasquez Jr. throws his head down, goes down to the inside of turn 2, takes the lead. Aiden Rudolph tries to get the switch back, and he has to just push and goes to the outside. You see Jesus Vasquez Jr. cover off completely on the inside. And
Rudolph, can he get an over under? I don't think it's going to be close enough. Buddy Vasquez Jr. wins in Caddo Mill.
Into the start box we go for the final time in 2024. We are green here, and already a lot of side-by-side action. Aiden Rudolph goes to the lead of this race early. Vasquez falls back to third.
These KA100 drivers able to fly out as we have oh my goodness, multiple drivers, Preston Pico among others, off of the racetrack.
Rudolph continuing to pull away here early on in this race. That gap sits at 2.8. Vasquez setting fastest laps of the race, but with Rudolph setting really identical lap times, this is good for Rudolph. And again, with the fastest lap, the championship still goes the way of Jesus Vasquez Jr. 28 spots gained for Peyton Phillips, and I think it's even more than that. 29 spots gained. Peyton Phillips, this kid, when we get to Las Vegas later on this year, he's going to be one to worry about, Rocco.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he isn't in the championship hopes of this race, but as you see, Cone Summers now getting overtaken by Peyton. I mean, just
he's going to be happy to see that CRG Norda machine back on the top step here in Amarillo. Aiden Rudolph is going to win in Amarillo Kart Complex. But in 2024, Buddy Vasquez Jr. looks set to be your Texas Sprint Racing Series champion. And you see the side of sportsmanship in between those two drivers who have had many battles, who have been unhappy with each other time and time again this year. But at the end of the day, we're all in it for the same thing, and that's to have fun and to give the emotion, to take the emotion home to everybody.
Eli Warren and Reagan Seville taking the green flag. We are racing here in 206 Sr. Warren with a great start. Seville on the outside. Fandry going to push Warren through, still side by side in between Fandry and Seville.
Now it looks like another Kelvin Zing trying to make up one more to get around Robertson. And so now that's going to happen. And I'm telling you, I think that might be a good duo. And look, you can see Eli Warren's frustrated right now. Cameron Reed is up on the inside, and Eli Warren, he's not happy. He said, why are we racing right now? The top two are pulling away, and it's understandable his frustration right now. Now there's going to be a position change. That's going to be Seville stuck on the inside. Crossover move. Robertson now is going to get cast to the wayside.
And Cameron Reed goes to the point of the field ahead of Reagan Seville. She wants to lead side by side with Eli Warren as well.
Franley right now is pushing hard in that front group, and they're still going back and forth up in the front half.
And no idea what happened to Jerry Fandry. If you can take a look back, and there's a pass for the lead now. Eli Warren back to the point of the field. On Reed, side by side in between the two of them. Reed goes off the racetrack. Frank looked for a move, and Reagan Seville now to the point of the field. Frank looked to go through as well, just wasn't close enough for Bryce Frank. And Reagan Seville, the rookie, back to the point of the field. And Eli Warren not going to let that slide. Zing. Oh, as there goes Seville down the inside. Frank gets through as well. Zing trying to go through, and Eli Warren off the racetrack. Kelvin Zing gets slowed way down. Oh, there goes Eli Warren down the inside on Braden Robertson. Warren trying to get clear.
Got his Robertson. And
there goes Frank to the lead.
I think Reed and Zing so far out over there, still side by side. Warren up for second. Oh, that was
Seville stuck on the outside. Reagan Seville stuck on the outside. Now it's side by side. And we hear this here as Warren now goes down the inside, trying to deny that. Eli Warren down the inside. Frank stuck on the outside and gets bobbled there. We're going to push Braden Robertson through. Frank there as well. Who is it going to be out of turn number 3? Braden Robertson.
6:47 of Robertson leading the way into the final corner. Oh, wow. A little aggressive there from Eli Warren. Gave him the boot going into the final corner. This time across. White flag in the air. 1 to go, and they're going to pinch. It looks like Seville all the way down to the grass. He's got 2 wheels into it, and now they're going to fan back up. Seville up to the point. For the moment, Eli Warren in the grass.
Eli Warren into the grass, and Cameron Reed and Kelvin Zing have joined the party. Move down the inside into turn number 9. Reagan Seville gets it done. It's going to be Reagan Seville with the win. The rookie wins 206 Senior. It's Rudolph and Frank. Green flag is out, and for the final time this weekend, we are racing here in Houston.
All link up and try to get away from the rest of the field. Oh, Jacob Oliver down the inside of Bryce Frank. He feels that he is faster than Bryce Frank. Wants to get down on the inside of him and push Aiden Rudolph. Not much time lost to Aiden Rudolph there.
Cameron Reed there in the 5th spot. She said she wanted to get on the box at least, and a guy who wants to get on the top box here is Jacob Oliver. They're back in the field as there goes another change there. Jacob Oliver and Bryce Frank side by side.
He lost a little bit of space going into that braking zone. To the lead, Jacob Oliver on Aiden Rudolph.
Adams, and I tell you what, this is almost a 10-kart train here as Reagan Seville, the rookie who was able to get the win at round number 1 at NOLA, has joined the party here after an unfortunate set of heat races right behind him. As Robertson, though, sneaks down the inside, tries to get the 2-for-1 move, gets it done in a switchback city. He's showing what he can do. He took the win in NOLA and wants to repeat it here at his home track of SpeedSportz Racing Park. There goes Robertson down the inside on Aiden Rudolph. I told you he wanted to be at the front. He does it now into the buckle, but Aiden Rudolph is going to be one to deny that second win. Early, started last every single heat race, made up more spots than anyone else, and Reagan Seville, the rookie, up to the point of the field, going to try and do the same and recreate the success he had in 2022. But it's Braden Robertson currently who sits at the point of the field. Just went on Truly Adams. Bryce Frank and Young side by side, and Reagan Seville back to the point of the field. Close enough to go the move. Truly Adams doesn't defend. Reagan Seville to the bottom of the racetrack, looks for the move. Truly Adams looks to hold it around the outside. Is he close enough into switchback city for the final time? Robertson looks to get the move down there as well. Rudolph and company not too far back. It's 5 karts, almost 10 karts for the lead here. Truly Adams still leads, was able to hold on to it in turn 7 and stay ahead of the rookie in Reagan Seville. Jacob Oliver there giving a bumper. A lot of drivers getting desperate. And it will be Truly Adams who wins in Houston. 206 Racing, the green flag is out. And we are racing here in 206 Senior. A good start by the inside line. Cameron Reed going to push Caden Wolf through. Zing going to be stuck on the outside. Josie Chambers looking to go through on Zing. And there goes Kelvin Zing. Knows it's time to go for the lead. Not close enough as of yet. Going to lose 3 spots there in the process.
In this front trans, you see Cameron Reed and Braden Robertson go down the inside of Caden Wolf. Only Cameron Reed can get clear, you know.
Goes Kelvin Zing on the inside of Caden Wolf. Looks to go for a 2-for-1 move. Caden Wolf going to get the side pod there. And there goes Kelvin Zing on the inside of Cameron Reed. He's able to get clear. Seville looking to go through on Reed as well.
Rudolph goes to the inside of Cameron Reed. Oh my goodness, big contact, and Cameron Reed goes off the track as well as Aiden Rudolph gets slowed down.
In the battle for the lead, 8 karts, and there goes Kelvin Zing on the inside on Reagan Seville. Truly Adams now up in a second. Seville falls back just outside of the top 2. Braden Robertson on the rear bumper of Truly Adams. They have to keep it clean. As Adams going to go for the move in turn number 9. Not going to wait for the last lap. Reagan Seville trying to go through on Kelvin Zing. He goes to the point on the bottom of the racetrack. Wants to go through in turn number 9. Not close enough. Truly Adams drops a tire. Reagan Seville on the outside. Kelvin Zing going to push Adams. Can he get through? No. Josie Chambers. Zing made contact. Who came out unscathed? It was Truly Adams who looks set to go. 2 for 2. Seville wants to deny him. Does he have the run? Not close enough. Truly Adams, 2 for 2, and Reagan Seville takes the win. Reagan Seville, transponder replacement is the name of the game. Reagan Seville, the rookie for the 2nd time in his senior career, wins in Crescent. Green flag is out, and we're racing here in 206 Senior. A good start for that inside line. Seville trying to push Zing around the outside. He's able to get through side by side with Cameron Reed.
There's a collision over there. Oh my goodness.
A couple of drivers collected, but the red flag is out in the air, so we wait. So Jacob Oakes is all right. He's up and talking to the medic now. It seemed like he had some pain there. Flag in the air. We are racing once again in 206 Senior. Frank able to get that jump done again. Zing able to get through. Seville drops a tire there.
Reed is going to go down the inside and split up the MGMs. Demote Kelvin Zing to P3.
But Cameron Reed, you talk about pace. She's definitely got it into that CRG Reed Motorsports machine. She looks to go through for the first spot. Bryce Frank going to go side by side with Cameron Reed. Reed not going to fight it all too much. They're going to give the spot there. That lap, and Reagan Seville knows that he has to get through. He gets through that time around. Out ahead, she's going to be happy to do it, and Zing thinks that he's faster than Reed. But Bryce Frank going to take the checkered flag and win in Caddo Mills. Kelvin Zing across the line in 2nd. A 1-2 for MGM. And a 1-2 for the AR Academy. Cameron Reed comes across in 3rd.
And as we get the green flag now, a bit of a long start from Kelvin Zing there. He loses a bit of ground to your leaders as Kelvin, and as I say, as Reagan gets the lead on Bryce Frank now, able to cover off that inside from Bryce. Side by side as Bryce Frank now goes down the inside of Truly Adams to take P2 away.
Truly Adams going to try it again around the outside on Reagan Seville. Not going to be close enough, but he's going to go through on Frank. And that.
Think about how this race is going to play out as he goes down the inside of Truly Adams there. Bryce Frank up into P2, trying to cover off Bryce Frank, but Bryce Frank has a good switchback. You see Reagan Seville drop a few tires. Bryce is going to get a huge push from Truly Adams and his teammate Kelvin Zing up in the front to let that other group catch up. Now Kelvin Zing now makes the pass for Truly Adams.
He wants to go up to 2nd. He's on the inside there of Kelvin Zing. They make a little bit of contact. Zing slowed way down there, and Truly Adams looks to go through there. To the bottom of the racetrack, looks to go on Bryce Frank. He has the help from Truly Adams, a little bit of contact in between the two of them. Frank not going to give up that spot easily.
Truly Adams now into P2, separating Bryce Frank and Kelvin Singh. Oh my goodness, Jensen Harrell.
By Truly Adams, sent Seville almost sideways. Truly Adams to the bottom of the racetrack. Seville not going to fight it too much. Adams wins. This is what Bryce Frank needs. He needs to go up to second.
Reagan Seville still right there, trying to hold the outside. A little bit of water on those outside tires. You see a little bit loose. This could be the end of Reagan Seville's championship hopes, as now Jensen Harrell's on the gets around him now, so it's falling apart.
Adams is going to defend. Truly Adams is going to win in Amarillo, and Bryce Frank is your 206 champion. Round number 1 of the Texas Sprint Racing Series. Rudolph and Robertson lead us to green, and we are racing here in KA 100 Senior. A good start so far by Aiden Rudolph.
Bunching up the field a little bit better than we saw from the heat race yesterday. Oh, heavy contact. Place from Robertson. He's getting a little bit of help up on the inside. Freight Train now on the inside line. And now Aiden Rudolph just has to settle in. One going off wide there.
That's JD Lamping. JD Lamping off the racetrack.
Jesus Vasquez Jr. is now up in front. Robertson getting shuffled back again. Now the 952 of Justin Music is up into second.
Robertson looking down the inside on Justin Music. Robertson is clear. Up to P2 for Robertson. Oh, we have a spin. That's Diego Guillo, who goes around out of turn number 3. Diego Guillo goes around, and that puts an end to his day as he's on the edge of the racetrack. Another driver off and into the wall. Adrian Cruz out of the race as well.
Here comes Robertson up on the inside. Does he have him cleared? Yes, and there comes Rudolph trying to follow. Does he have the point? Rudolph gets by, and so does your 4th placement of Phillips. Oh, wow! Into the wall. They're going to blow right by Aiden Rudolph, and now they're going to go 2 for 1 on the inside. Rudolph now goes back to 3rd. Phillips on the point. Vasquez Jr. up into P2.
There goes Rudolph on the inside of 11. Rudolph down the inside and clear. Back up into P2 as Aiden Rudolph now to the bottom of the racetrack with Jesus Vasquez Jr. pushing. Peyton Phillips. Vasquez goes even lower to the lead of the race. Jesus Vasquez Jr. over, under, crossover, move by Aiden Rudolph.
Now going to be up a point, and here it goes again. Vasquez Jr. back up on point. Is there a crossover move in this final corner? I think Rudolph is going to back off here a little bit.
Rudolph now to the bottom of the racetrack with Phillips pushing here. The champion pushes Rudolph by. Rudolph back to the point of the field with Robertson looking to go as well. Vasquez looks back, sees Robertson is there as well, and Rudolph is going to let Robertson out of nowhere. Sends it down the inside on Rudolph.
And now deep send up the inside there for your 2nd placement to the point, and that is Peyton Phillips now up in front. Oh, nose to tail. Here comes Vasquez Jr.
Vasquez Jr. down the inside. Skinner going to push his teammate by as well. Not close enough for Landon Skinner. Robertson going side by side there for a second. And Jesus Vasquez Jr., I was going to say back to the point of the field, but Peyton Phillips, the reigning champion, back up. And for this year, as Vasquez goes low, Phillips goes lower. And then down the inside, Peyton Phillips to the point of the field. Robertson as well, side by side in between the two of them. Braden Robertson and Peyton Phillips get together. Still Vasquez on the inside. Rudolph tries to get it done. Out of nowhere, Blake Nash and Aiden Rudolph.
Side by side,
over
Rudolph
under
on
move.
point.
Aiden Rudolph into turn number 11 we go. Down the main straightaway, Aiden Rudolph. The streak is ended. 643 days are over. Aiden Rudolph wins in NOLA. Alex Stanfield down the back straightaway for the first time this weekend, and a lot of go-karts here and on track at the same time as Alex Stanfield looks for the move down the inside on Jesus Vasquez Jr. Alex Stanfield leads. That would lead change once again. Jesus Vasquez Jr. and teammate Landon Skinner. Not close enough on the inside of Alex Stanfield. Is going to make up a spot there, though. And there goes Peyton Phillips.
Peyton to the inside of Jesus Vasquez Jr. Huge dive bomb there, and he makes it, and he is in P1 now.
3 carts. Couldn't get it done, but Alex Stanfield up to P3. Side by side for the lead. It's Alex Stanfield and Jesus Vasquez Jr. once again. Stanfield not going to go defensive. Thinks he can outbreak Vasquez Jr. Can he hold on to it around the outside? Rudolph on the inside. Not close enough there on the outside of turn number 7. Not close enough. And that's Truly Adams. Oh, wow. Landon Skinner and Truly Adams get together. Landon Skinner gets slowed way down and on the apex of that corner.
Stanfield. Peyton Phillips down the inside of Aiden Rudolph.
Close enough to attempt the move. Rudolph goes on Phillips. The Californian has kept it perfect. The Texans weren't able to deny him. Jesus Vasquez Jr. wins in Houston. For the start of this race,
Jesus Vasquez Jr., Adrian Cruz lead us to green, and we are racing here. NKA 100 Senior goes Alex Stanfield on the inside of Jake French. Not close enough as of yet. He is now Alex Stanfield up to the second position. But there goes Jake French looking to deny that. The factory card up to second. Cruz gonna muscle his way through as well. And
on Rudolph. Now you see a change for the lead. There is Jake French going down the inside of the bowl, getting the lead of Jesus Vasquez Jr. Come back, and Adrian Cruz is going to follow through and try to get P2 from Jake French.
He's going to look on the inside. He does to the bottom of the racetrack. There goes Jake French. Not close enough on Jesus Vasquez Jr. He is now, and back to the point of the field here. Jake French, your new leader, and a crossover move, a heads-up move by Jesus Vasquez Jr.
He goes defensive, Jesus Vasquez Jr. Jake French gets caught around the outside. I think Trilly Adams going to get their 3 wide for second place all the way in. Yeah, Trilly Adams tries to slot through there. He's going to get freight trained, though, by Cruz and behind. There goes Cruz. Can't get around Jake French. No, he does. Jake French runs super wide and loses a bunch of positions there.
Rudolph going to the outside. Is he going to have any help? Not as of yet. Gonna have a good run though. Out to the main straightaway. Does Rudolph have it? No! Into the grass for Aiden Rudolph. Looking to make moves. Jake French going to the outside. Trilly Adams looks to go.
Oh my goodness!
And the contact in between Adams.
Check that's now up ahead. Jesus Vasquez Jr. and Alex.
Bumper. Stanfield to the point of the field. Gives a little bit of a bumper there to Vasquez Jr.
And as you see, Aiden Rudolph down the inside of Alex Stanfield.
Up 10 spots. There goes Aiden Rudolph on the inside of Landon Skinner. Are they closing down? Rudolph knows he's quicker. Wants to go up to second. I'm making the move, and Ibrahim Din absolutely flying on the main straightaway. Goes up to second. Rudolph falls back to fourth here. If anybody lets him slot in, and 3 wide up the main straight. It's Din, Rudolph on the bottom of the racetrack, gonna have the push from Peyton Phillips. Can they get through on Vasquez Jr.? Not close enough. At the bottom of the racetrack, he's clear out the moment from Jesus Vasquez Jr., who's gonna crowd him to the bottom. Aiden Rudolph goes to the point. 2 laps to go. Has to get creative. Jake French around the outside. Is he close enough to get it done on these 2 drivers? Not as of yet. French drops a tire, and out of nowhere, Peyton Phillips takes the lead. A heads-up move. Rudolph wasn't close enough. Nobody gonna deny him. He kept his nose clean. Peyton Phillips wins in Crescent. Aiden Rudolph second. Jesus Vasquez Jr. third. For the final time this weekend, the green flag is out, and we are racing in K100 Senior. Buddy Vasquez Jr. already to the point. And Rudolph looking to slot back in a line inside of Peyton Phillips. A couple of contact. JD Lampert gets collected in front of the field. Clements is off. Frank is off.
So you see Peyton Phillips now go down to the inside after that with Aiden Rudolph following through. Jesus Vasquez Jr. falls all the way down to P3.
I was able to get clear. He's up to P5. There goes Vasquez on the inside for P2. He's able to get clear. Rudolph drops the tire into the dirt. He slots back into fourth. French going to slot back into the third spot. Very hungry wolves, and you see it there. Pagano on the inside of Jake French. The X-Teams get together. Junior Vasquez on the inside into turn number 3. He's able to get clear. Has put on the fight to all these drivers as Rudolph goes on the inside of Peyton Phillips. Does he wait? He's going to go in turn number 3 on the inside. He's able to get clear.
Fit the second group as you see Jesus Vasquez Jr. shoot down the inside of Aiden Rudolph. A late lunge. Peyton Phillips too with the switchback. Tries to get a nose down to Jesus Vasquez Jr. He has to give room as Peyton Phillips takes the lead. Aiden Rudolph and Herrera, his teammate, push through. Let's see if Aiden shoots down the inside. Coming into turn 3, he will. And down the inside goes Aiden Rudolph and covers it. So Peyton Phillips let him by, basically lifted through the corner for the win. So as they come around, you see Vasquez now down the inside of Peyton Phillips. Herrera's going to follow through, and Peyton Phillips gets pushed a little bit to the outside.
And now he was set for a full year. He's set for a full move into turn number 1. He's able to get clear. Rudolph looking to over-under. Who's Herrera going to push here? He's looking. Can Rudolph get clear into turn number 5?
Doing it every single lap, so a big spin. You saw him get sideways there, deep on.
Beckett, Friesen aren't too far off. There goes Phillips on the inside of Herrera. 2 rookies who moved up from junior last year. Buddy on the inside of Phillips, looking over-under. They go side by side, hands in the air. They're kind of confused as to why they're fighting for second here.
And Jesus Vasquez Jr. throws his head down, goes down to the inside of turn 2, takes the lead. Aiden Rudolph tries to get the switch back, and he has to just push and goes to the outside. You see Jesus Vasquez Jr. cover off completely on the inside.
And Rudolph, can he get an over-under? I don't think it's going to be close enough. Buddy Vasquez Jr. wins in Caddo Mills. Into the start box we go for the final time in 2020.
qualifying getting set to go green there. I hope you guys enjoyed the replays of what went on last year and how the championships got to where they were. But other side of the break now, qualifying action getting set to go green here. Drivers already out onto the racetrack now. The Mini Swift class presented by the Allen Rudolph Racing Academy. Colton Schniegenberg, the driver that leads everybody out. Looks like Tanner Barsh right behind him. And already, I think a lot of drivers have a rain suit on. Not sure, I can't see any sprinkling outside here, Alex, but everybody definitely tiptoeing around the racetrack right now.
Yeah, I mean, they got the slicks on. So I feel like this was a precautionary rain suit in case it rains. Don't ruin the suit. And I don't blame them, because there's nothing worse than having, and I'm sure you can attest to this, Caleb, having a wet suit, wet gloves, wet shoes that you want to stay as dry as possible. But slicks are on. I was outside 5 minutes ago. It wasn't raining. So the track is, like we've mentioned, cold. It's tough. And again, the grip got reset slightly with the bit of rain that we saw in the Jr Warmup session. But this is as good of a track as we've seen all morning from what we saw in the latter half of the warm-up sessions. And it's only going to continue to improve, not as much as you would see maybe on a warmer day and as rubber gets put down more and more. And we've mentioned it, right, that this constant looming weather is going to put a wrench in things and certainly plaguing on the minds of mechanics, drivers, teams, parents, deciding what to do with their kid in the driver's seat. But nonetheless, right now at least, the best decision is slick tires. So if you see a rain suit up there, it's just precautionary stuff. But nonetheless, we're about halfway through qualifying here for the a little bit, actually one or two laps in or out at this point for the Mini Swift drivers. And right now it's Tanner Barsh top the board, 1:09. These laps will continue to fall as qualifying goes on underway, but 2/10 clear of Aston Wyatt in second.
Yeah, so a lot more pace to find for these drivers. Aston Wyatt in the second spot on his AR Academy Nitro kart. Schniegenberg in third. Moravietz in fourth. Chandler, your top five. Kimo Ahmad, his first race in Mini Swift, in sixth at the moment. Jensen Willander seventh. Back to Hill, Tabakasoon, and Steves, your top 10 drivers in this field. So we'll see how they stack up. And Wyatt already, from what we can see here, a big toe off of Tanner Barsh. So this is going to be a really good lap here for Aston Wyatt, Alex.
Yeah, fast Aston Wyatt here, right in the final corner. It'll be a good lap for Barsh, probably a better lap here for Fast and Wyatt. Crossing the stripe here. What's the lap time's going to show? Aston Wyatt, top of the board, a 59.775. Barsh P2. Schniegenberg betters his lap to go to third. Moravietz in fourth there, about 4/10 back. Ahmad fifth. Alex Chandler in sixth position at the moment. But a top two for the drivers working together. And you see actually Tanner Barsh getting around Schniegenberg. So I wonder if this is a strategic play from Colton to say, you know what, I know the two behind me are quicker. Let's get a toe off of them. And we mentioned it, it's not only 206 classes, it's really every class at a track like SpeedSportz where the draft is super important, especially in the lower horsepower categories like Mini, like Micro, like 206. The draft's important. And so this is a really good position to be in if you're Schniegenberg. He had to burn this lap to get behind Tanner Barsh. But the next lap, if he can stay in that middle spot, will be solid. I think the best spot to be in right now is Aston Wyatt if he can set up this lap.
Yeah, if he can set it up against Schniegenberg, you talked about it. There's big drafting opportunities here. The front straightaway into turns 1, 2, and 3. You don't want to be too close to anybody else because it's very easy to get tripped up through there. And you have, obviously, on the exit of turn 5, down at turn 6, that long straightaway that takes you all the way through. And that's the biggest drafting opportunity. And that's where Schniegenberg, probably saw the benefit of getting a draft. And just like Aston Wyatt did, and I think Barsh, as well, as something that he's going to have to kind of look for as well, because he's towing everybody along. Still second, has good pace on his own. But you could find that much more and that little bit more on the back straightaway and following somebody else as we go through with Simon Jack Klein here on the back straightaway. And again, him and another driver working together as they work down.
Simon Jack Klein struggling at the moment here. I don't know if that's a motor thing or what, but he just got motored by on that front straightaway. It could be a reason why he's 2.4 seconds off the pace for a driver that we can expect to see towards the front. So for Simon Jack Klein, maybe he was lifting on the straightaway to try to get a draft, but so far qualifying has not gone the way of Simon Jack Klein down there in 11th place at the moment. I got to say, Tyler Moravietz there up into the top spot for a moment, but it gets eclipsed by Aston Wyatt, Barsh, and Schniegenberg. Top four less than 0.3 of a second, and we talked about it. Aston Wyatt was a third driver in that row, in that trio from the last lap that we saw, and he got the best tow. He put to P1. Schneegerberg third. Tanner Barsh, considering he was leading that train to start that final lap, to put it P2, that CRG's got some speed.
Yeah, still a 10th off, and I think they made their way into the pits, and indeed, they're not going to have an extra lap. Chandler as well, not going to have an extra one. He's going to finish in 6th, and I think that's it. I don't see anybody else working their way around. And indeed, Aston Wyatt going to finish top of the timing charts in his Nitro kart. Going to be the quickest out there on the racetrack. Tanner Barch in 2nd for the MSO Racing crew. Schneegenberg back to Moravietz. And Kimo Ahmad, the rookie, up into the top 5. So a good showing for those drivers there as well. Steve in 8th, Vargas in 7th, Willender back to Nayeli Vargas, Simon Jack Klein 11th. And again, seeing that back straightaway, it looks from the outside looking in like a motor issue for sure. That being said, Micro Swift next, second in the running here as well. Brody Stoffel getting set to lead the field to green. Wiley Lee right behind him, who is actually from San Francisco, moved out to Austin, Texas, I believe, and is racing and moved to be closer to a track like SpeedSportz, moved to be closer to everything, and all the national series. Is looking for a full SCUSA Pro Tour running this year. So we'll see how Wiley Lee comes along. Still very, very young, I believe 7 years old for Wiley, and again, one of the smaller kiddos in this Micro Swift class. We talked about Brody Brown earlier as well. White starting on the outside there on the Croc promotion kart out of Hill Country Racing Park, not too far away, just a couple of hours down the road near New Braunfels, Texas. So we'll see how these drivers kind of stack up, and some drivers do, and on new equipment, I should say here, Alex.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, judging by what we saw from the Mini Swift class just a moment ago here in qualifying, the track is starting to ramp up. The lap times are better than what we saw in warm-up. Obviously, with new tires as well makes a big difference for these drivers. But nonetheless, this track's continuing to get better. And I got to say, at some point, you have to think. I haven't looked at the radar anytime soon, Caleb, but we talked about it this morning. Last night, should I say, the weather looks, 100% chance of rain. This morning, a little bit less. It might be spread out throughout the day, and so that's why if you're a team, if you're a mechanic, you're a driver, you're constantly looking at radar, because you got to show up to the grid at this point with tires ready to go if you have to go rain or slicks, and then if you really want to go setup changes as well, right? If you can wait as long as possible with your cart on the cart stand, you could do last minute changes. Obviously on the grid, you can't really do a whole lot besides tire pressure and maybe change tires if you put it back on the cart stand. But nonetheless, engines are fired here for the Micro Swift drivers, and these are the stars of the future here in Micro Swift. And some drivers have moved up into Mini. Some drivers, this is their first season in Micro, coming up from the 206 Cadet, coming up from Kid Kart as well.
Indeed, and talk about changes for a lot of these drivers. Changes as well here at the Texman Racing Series. We obviously saw the new track light system, and new race directors as well here this year. Matt Ackley and Neil Strickland, a busy schedule for them with everything they got going on. I know the SCUSA Pro Kart Challenge over at K1 Circuit is going to go green next weekend, and they're over there getting ready for that. And this year, set to join us for the rest of the year, Robert Venable and Darren McDonough are 2 race directors here. So a warm welcome to them here at the Texman Racing Series, and I'm sure they're going to be pretty busy this weekend as well, and the rest of the year as well. So good to have them with us here this year in 2025. But time to start the qualifying action here. Brody Stoffel going to lead the field out onto the racetrack on a CRG Norton machine.
Yeah, well, I'm immediately looking at, the attitude of the go-karts, right? Naturally, the first couple of corners of any qualifying session, you're going to see a lot of drivers sawing at the wheel, trying to get any heat in the tires that they can possibly get. But from what it shows me, from what I've seen from Mini Swift a moment ago, it took a couple of laps to get the pace in the go-kart, right? We saw a final lap there of a 59.3 for the likes of Aston Wyatt, but for majority of that session, they're doing 101s, 1 minutes, high 59s, and it finally came down to a 59.3. Whereas usually, most classes, especially Mini or Micro, lap 2, lap 3, you pretty much are within pace and then maybe the last lap, it's always the best one, depending on how you set up your tire pressures, but it's usually not 6/10 faster than what you did on lap 3 and 2. So it goes to show you that this track is still getting better as the day goes on. I can't really say it's getting warmer because it's not. It actually almost felt like it was colder than it was this morning when I walked out. So the clouds are still staying above us here at SpeedSportz. The sun hasn't poked out. The breeze hasn't really picked up, but it's slightly breezy. Nothing to affect the go-kart, but to affect just how the wind chill feels for sure. So it's not doing the track any justice in terms of warming it up. But I got to say, from lap 1 to lap 2, the 229 machine here, Brody Stoffel, looking a lot smoother. So the go-kart's coming in nicely for the CRG driver, but still, it looks freer than what we can expect. And I think this track is going to get better and better. And again, it makes it really interesting to watch this qualifying session to see how the karts develop, how the drivers develop, and how they get used to the racetrack.
Yeah, Stoffel's still the quickest by about, at the moment, it's 2 seconds. A 109.283. Those times still nowhere near where racing times are. And again, this group here of Brody Brown, the 241 there, as well as Bay Wyatt, currently sits in second. This is exactly what they don't need, right? They don't need to be racing in a qualifying session. They need to find their own ground, find good track space, so they can really put in good laps after good laps. And that's Bodie Byer there, and contact like that just really not going to fall into their hands here early on.
Yeah, well, not only that, I mean, for one, you don't want to see teammates racing too much in qualifying, but two, if there's ever a time to make a pass, it's lap 1, it's lap 2 of qualifying. By lap 3, you're taught from a young age to try to sit down and slot in line, right? Like, understand at this point, I'm not going to improve, or I can't maybe get around this guy. Learning how to set up a lap is super important for a lot of the young kids. And so I'm sure if you're the likes of Brody Brown, right, you might not be able to get around the 241 machine unless like that he goes a little bit wide. But nonetheless, for Brody Brown, at this point in the lap, it's tough to try to start the lap on somebody's bumper. You want to set up the lap, be a couple of car lengths behind them so that you can get the advantage of the toe down the front straightaway, down the back straightaway, and through the different short chutes that they offer here at SpeedSportz Racing Park. So that's the biggest thing that I think a lot of these young kids develop as they get through the micro mini stuff class, is learning how to set up the qualifying lap. Nonetheless, right now, the driver that set up his qualifying laps better than anybody else, Brody Stoffel, 1.2 seconds clear of the field.
Yeah, that's scary, right? Considering the closest is Bodie Byer with a 1.2 difference, a 102.240 for Byer in the second spot. And then Tyler Blackwood finds himself in third. Capitan Garduno up to fourth. And Wyatt White up to fifth. A good showing as well. It's going to be his first year running double duty, both in the 2-cycle and the 4-cycle classes this year here at the Tech Spin Racing Series. So to see Wyatt up in the top 5, I'm sure his dad is definitely happy to see that. And again, you work your way down the field. Brown in 8th, Strayer back to Beckley Anderson, your top 10. Torrealba currently 11th. So that's who you have out there on the racetrack now. Sampson, looks like he made up a spot up in a 13th, and they're coming close to the end of their qualifying session. 30 seconds left in this session here, Alex.
Tyler Blackwood there, a 1 minute, 0.8, 13 thousandths behind Brody Stoffel. So Stoffel's gap to the rest of the field has shrunk drastically. Brody Brown, we talked about setting up the lap. He got a really good toe on the last corner there. Puts himself P3. Bodie Bear there in that 4th spot. Bo Wyatt on the CRG in the top 5 as well. So the field is starting to condense now. It's closer and back to where we expect the micro drivers to be, really close as always, putting up some really, really good racing action. There's IX Capitan Garduno, usually a driver that we expect on the Orsalon side of things. We mentioned it earlier in warm-up on the red speed package alongside a lot of the Orsalon drivers that you'll see this weekend, on the likes of Jose Carlos Hernandez and Garduno as well. So, but for Capitan Garduno, probably expecting a little bit more out of the session. But like we mentioned from the Mini Swift class, a lot of the drivers got their best lap on that final lap. So let's see if for Red Speed and for Capitan Garduno, he can improve on his 102.6 like Brody Stoffel has. A 1 minute, 0.293, puts 5/10 on the field once again.
Yeah, it's a good lap by Stoffel. And for Blackwood and other drivers, I mean, that pace was there from the start of the session, but it's just finding that open space, and it takes them so long to get to that point and to get up to the point where they have the speed to get up there and qualify up at the front. But the fact that they're racing from the start of the session, that's really what puts you on the back foot and puts you about a second and a half off from the rest of the field from the start, right? From Brody up at the front. So they finally found that space, but it was just a little too late, and they couldn't really build off of that because they spent all the warm-up laps, the laps where you get yourself into the groove, racing. And Stoffel here, I think, even going to get an extra lap this time around. So we'll see if anybody can take him off the top step. Stoffel looking good this time around.
Wow.
And he improves. He goes even quicker the final time around. A 1 minute .182, putting half a second.
Whoa, Tyler Blackwood on the last lap there.
Tyler Blackwood got close. And again, it's just the same thing. It's just getting into the groove early and getting into that track position from the start of the session. I think that's the biggest thing, and the biggest thing to note once we get into racing action. Picking and choosing your battles, being patient. We had a conversation about this on our morning show not long ago at the SCUSA Winter Series, and it's just patience and picking and choosing when to make your moves is the biggest thing. These races are long. You have 3 heat races, and you know, being there for the entire thing, I think, is the most important part.
Yeah, and especially in Micro Swift, we know how quickly these races can kind of flip on their head a little bit, and it can get away from you, or you can take advantage of it. We see a lot of times drivers out to the top 5 go out there and get a win because they fight a lot. So I think if you're a mechanic, you're a coach, you're looking at your young kids and saying, listen, you know, save the racing for the racetrack, right? Or for the racing action, should I say, rather than qualifying. Because like you mentioned, a lot of these drivers, we know have the pace, like Blackwood, to go out there and challenge Brody Stoffel. But if you fight too much in qualifying, you never really get the tires in the window that you want. You never really get the lap that you were happy about. And you saw Brody Stoffel put together 5 flying laps by himself.
Shifter is out onto the racetrack now. Noah's Arce, Luis Mendez out there. And again, their money laps are probably going to be around lap 4 or 5. It'll take them a while to get up to speed and put some heat into those tires as well. And that's the biggest thing, I think, when it comes to learning, right? Adjusting that brake bias and getting temperature into the tires and you know, not pushing full on out for the entire qualifying session. It's a building phase when you get down to it. So we'll see how these drivers stack up. Noah's Arce out there on the racetrack leading everybody away on a Sodi machine with the Arcane Motorsports crew. Again, 2 warm-up laps usually, and then you have that push lap that'll get you in rhythm for a good qualifying spot, hopefully, for some of these drivers.
You see Jordan Musser here on the timing and scoring, but he's actually not here, I don't believe, Caleb. So Jordan Musser there, he's going to stay P8 the whole session. So, yeah, no Musser, no Billy Musgrave, as some of y'all who were back at home watching maybe saw the entry list and saw that we had the likes of Musgrave and Musser here, not here this weekend. So for Aiden Rudolph, this is more of a test weekend for him, and for a lot of these drivers, he's getting acclimated back to the shifter package. A lot of younger drivers, right? Like Melchiori, I think, I want to say is, 14 years old, Caleb? So young drivers and shifter, always great to see. I love seeing drivers who make the jump up the shifter at an early age. We saw the likes of Connors Village, Brent Cruz do it many years ago, back in 2021, I want to say. And you can see where those 2 drivers are at now. So whenever you can make the jump up to the shifter package earlier is always cool, and it's possible, right? You don't have to go through the entire senior ranks to get up the shifter.
Yeah, John Paul Curry, like you said, 14 years old. Him and his dad pitting out of their garage here at SpeedSportz Racing Park, working together. John Paul actually, we saw him racing 206 Junior last year here at the Sexton Racing Series. Skipped KA, skipped X30, straight in a shifter, and wanted to learn and wanted to go fast. And that's one of the things that he told his daddy, that you know, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to race shifter, had a test day in it, fell in love with it, and has done it ever since. And still 14 years old. Still deciding if he wants to run the Pro Tour. That's obviously a big step up for them. But we'll see how John Paul comes along here today in his number 6 Braille Art machine here with the Santa Ana Racing Company. So exciting to see more drivers work their way up, and we'll see how he does in this qualifying session. I mean, it looks good, right? He's banging gears, and lines look pretty good as well. So we'll see how John Paul does here in his first opening flying lap. Luis Mendez up to the top. Noah's Arce second. Aiden Rudolph to third. And there you have it from this young 14-year-old John Paul McCurry up to second. A pretty good lap there, and only 8 thousandths of a second off from these guys. So doing pretty good.
Pretty tight field here at the top of the board for the shifter so far. Mendez, Melchiori, Zarsk within a 10th, right? The top 3. So we can expect to see Aiden Rudolph put together a pretty solid lap, but right now just getting the tires in that window, something that is different than what he's probably used to on the KA side of things, getting that kart in an optimal window, right? KA, usually you can go out there out of the gate and first lap, you're on it. In Shifter, usually you see these guys bring in the tire nice and easy. You got to treat it nice, and it'll treat you back the way that you kind of brought it in. So for Aiden Rudolph, his first real lap there goes P4, 1.3 off the pace as Melchiori tops the board, the first driver in the 50s, a 50.937. So for the 14-year-old, he goes to P1 at the moment.
Yeah, that's a pretty impressive lap there by John Paul Nozar, second, Luis Mendez third. And again, Rudolph, this will be his first kind of lap in full song. Second, it looks like, but one more lap and one more go-around for everybody. Rudolph across the line this time. Moves up, only up to fourth. Mendez third, Zars second. Melchiori still top of the timing charts here, Alex.
Not for long. I think Noah Zarks just got him there. Noah Zarks to the top of the board, 2.5 tenths clear of Melchiori. Aiden Rudolph fourth right now, 5 tenths off of the likes of Zarks. So we're looking at the number 7 machine right now. For Aiden Rudolph, I think still trying to find an optimal window in this go-kart. It's been sliding around more than it was in the warm-up session, I got to say, Caleb. So I think he's still maybe not completely happy with the package. It looks a lot smoother this lap, whereas last lap he was really sawing at the wheel and fighting for it. So we'll have to see what it says this time around as we go through turns 13, 14, and 15 here to finish his lap. And checkered flag is going to be waving for Aiden Rudolph. So this is his last chance here to put a good lap together. The CRG machine crosses the line. P3 for Aiden Rudolph. Noah Zarsk right now, unless anybody can improve, is going to go P1 in pole position.
Well, Rudolph won in the race, and I think he has it here in Shifter. Noah Zarsk tops the timing charts. Melchiori second, Rudolph third, Mendez to Mills, to Derek Proctor, Alfred Alvarez Castillo. Your field here in Shifter. Coming up next, your 206 Kid Karts getting set to hit the track here in a couple of moments' time. Your Kid Kart's out on the racetrack now. Maverick Reddick going to lead everybody out onto the racetrack. Right behind him, the 22. Following him around as Reddick, a little bit of an off-track excursion there. Vettel Baker was the driver that was right behind him. Not sure if that was JJ DeShong as well in the 77 that was out there with him. But yeah, off-track there early on for Mav. And not the way he would have wanted to start his qualifying session. Going to have to try and get a toe off one of these kids ahead of him. So we'll see how he kind of figures out how to get out there. I believe some drivers were holding on there on the grid, Alex, before they were released. So we'll see. But I think everybody did hit the racetrack. Booker Anderson, Liam Guerrero out there as well. Liam Lofton, Galliano as well in fourth. So everybody's out there now, and we'll see how they put together these laps.
Yeah, as we get ready to see lap number 1 underway for the Kid Kart qualifying session. And again, you're going to see a mix of chassis, sizes, all the 206 package, but depending on height, obviously. Some drivers elect for the Cadet package. You might see a little bit of a smaller package for some other drivers there. You see the likes of Maverick Reddick there, a little bit of a smaller chassis. for him. He's a smaller kid, and so it's always, like we mentioned, it's adorable to see them all walking around, helmets huge on them, everything looks big, and again, pedal boxes are as close as they can be for a lot of these drivers. So first lap in the books, Vettel Baker, the number 22 CRG machine, tops the board. We're getting a good look at the likes of JJ DeShong and Maverick Reddick. They're second and third in now qualifying. A little bit of time to find as, around goes JJ DeShong there. Goes to show you that the track is still pretty slick, carrying a little bit too much speed there and loops it around, does the CRG Nordheim machine. So gonna have to get going again and, regroup, reset. Still half the qualifying session left, so it's not a big deal there, and just, re-find your footing for JJ.
Seeing these kids yesterday, I was kind of watching some of the sessions here as well. These kid karts, I think, are by far the most antsy and wanting to get onto the racetrack. Their mechanics have to hold them back and hold on to their karts before they hit the racetrack. Because as soon as the grid marshals start taking a step back, these kids are on the gas, wanting to go, and having to slow them down, I think, is the hardest part about it. But it's good to see this much passion, right, from kids so young. As we see laps continuing to come in, Vettel Baker still the quickest on the racetrack. Maverick Reddick in second. DeShong still in third, holding on strong. The 24 on our screen there of Weiland currently fifth. Liam Lofton moves up to second. A good lap there by Liam. Maverick Reddick still holding on at third. Booker Anderson fourth. JJ DeShong fifth. And Weiland, your top six here. On the racetrack now, Vettel Baker is still quickest in 22nd. JJ DeShong moved up to second. Liam Lofton third. Reddick fourth. Weiland, your top five. Checkered flag getting set to go out. 20 seconds left there on the timing. Liam Guerrero still seventh. Booker Anderson to Weiland. Your top five there. So we'll see if anybody can pull something out of the bag here in the closing stages of qualifying, Alex.
Yeah, final laps in the books here for the 206 Kid Kart drivers. Maybe one. They might get 2 laps. I think this is the last lap for a lot of these drivers. So Vettel Baker, he's been top of the board since the session went green. Only 9/10 between himself and JJ DeShong. So considering JJ had a spin early on in the session, didn't phase him one bit. Puts it P2 at the moment. We're looking at Liam Lofton right now on the 41 machine. He's third. He's on a pretty good lap here, so I wonder what this is going to bode for him as checkered flag waves for a couple of drivers here. So we're going to start to see the final laps in the books for a lot of these drivers. No improvement as of yet. Now, as the rest of the contingents for CRG cross the stripe, what does it look like here? And no improvements for at least Reddick. No improvements for Booker Anderson, I don't believe. But we're still looking at Liam Lofton here on the 41 machine. He's getting ready to cross the line now. It was a good-looking lap. Is it a good lap? Lap time-wise, an improvement. Up to P2, a 119.307. Vettel Baker did improve on his personal best to go a 118.226. So he's a little bit over a second clear of the field. But it's Baker, Lofton, DeShong, your top three. Maverick Reddick in that fourth spot. Weiland, Galliano in fifth. Booker Anderson, Liam Guerrero didn't go out for this session, but a good top six. Good showing for the Kid Kart crew.
Yeah, a very, very close field in between your top five, about a second in between them. Back to Maverick Reddick and then Galliano as well there. So I think we're set for a good race here in a couple of moments, but your KA Jr is getting set to hit the racetrack. And again, we saw their close warm-up session where they actually had some rain hit the racetrack. So we'll see if they can just keep it on the black stuff this time around, Alex.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this was the session that we saw in warm-up where it started to drizzle a little bit, and I think it caught a lot of the drivers out. Definitely caught the Berry brothers out. Mason Berry still at P3 in this warm-up session. No one was quicker than Tyrone Kemper Jr. this morning. He put almost 5 tenths on the field. I got to say, though, for me, the standout driver this morning, Caleb, was Nico Areza. Put it P2 in his second junior weekend ever. First TSRS junior race, first time here on the KC side of things, showcasing what he could do in the junior class. To put it P2 behind the champ from last year, that's impressive.
Yeah, Nico Urbezo, I mean, he had a good year last year, a good year on the national side of things as well in the mini Swift class. He put it on pole a couple times at MCC that I can remember. He was on the pole position there. So just, it's been a good, I would say, a good year last year for Nico, going over to Europe as well, and then bringing that experience here, and very, very mature driving by Nico so far. Watched him yesterday and had my eyes on him, and, you know, the junior class, I think, is notoriously known for a lot of drivers kind of getting antsy and wanting to go on each other, but Nico has really kept it very, very mature for what I've seen so far this weekend, and again, that's one of the coolest things to see from a driver so young. But you have a lot of the veterans in this class, right? The Berry twins, David Ibarra, who was really quick last year. He was really quick on the national scene as well. So look out for David Ibarra to on a track, I guess, that he can call home now for his team in CRG Nordham, and you know, living only in Dallas, not too far away. For David this year, it's been a year of growth where he's done a lot of KZ testing as well. If he could, he would definitely be racing KZ this year, he says, but he's still 13 years old, still too young for it, but he's already itching to kind of get back into it.
Again, always cool to see. I love when the junior drivers are already getting their feet wet in the KC side of things. We've been talking about it all morning, but it's just one of those things where it shows that it's possible and that you can't do it. And the more drivers that do make that step up the KZ, more drivers are going to follow, right? Because it's just one of those things where you got to go where the entries are. And so, again, nonetheless, David Ibarra was quick this morning, inside the top 6th in warm-up. It's tough to look at that warm-up session, though, and say who's actually the fastest, because they really only had about 2 to 3 laps in dry conditions. The rest of it was just staying on the racetrack. So that's why if you look at the warm-up timing from this morning on Speed Hive, you'll see a big discrepancy in lap times between everybody, but nonetheless looks pretty good for Ibarra. I gotta say, Carson Berry looks pretty quick right now on the 810 machine, and you look further back, the 821 there of, I believe that's Golseth in the 826, so that's one of the arcade machines. The 827.
Maui Angel there.
Gage Bailey. What a story for Gage Bailey, huh, Caleb?
Yeah, I mean, Gage Bailey, if you look back to where he was about 6 months ago, a nasty wreck in MCC, where, you know, he left there with a broken leg after a nasty wreck, and it's been a long process, a lot of therapy to get back to this point, a lot of therapy to get back into a go-kart, and this weekend he's back with the Trackside Karting Services team. Austin Garrison, obviously the coach under there, and he was excited to see Gage back. I know his dad was excited to see him back, and I'm sure everybody at home and all of us here are excited to see Gage back in a go-kart, and his second race. Raced last weekend at the club race here, and it's back this weekend. So a long story back, but Gage is back, and he's back up to where he left off last year, and even better than where he left off, I should say. Back up to the top of the timing charts here, second at the moment for Gage Bailey, Alex.
This is the stuff of dreams, right? For a driver, it's tough when you have a bad wreck, 2, you have an injury from it. The therapy, it's tough mentally, but it's one of those things where you're always told to get back on the horse, right? Go out there and do your thing. For a debut weekend, basically, since that injury, to be as quick as he is so impressive. But now you're seeing a lot of shuffling here as the 3rd lap is in the books. And this is usually that crossover point where the tires are in their optimal window, and you're going to see a lot of lap time start to fall. And Kemper Jr. takes advantage of that. He goes top of the board right now, 3.5 tenths clear of the field. And you see the likes of Cox and then Pettit there in 3rd.
Yeah, Easton Cox there in 2nd. Travis Pettit. Bailey, your top 5. Davis Henry, Mason Berry, Golseth back in 8th. Tucker Trebe in 9th. And Carson Berry, your top 10. Ibarra finds himself in 11th. Luke Cruz in 12th. And the list goes on of drivers here. 24 out on the racetrack now, but the number 1 plate, fastest overall, only 1 win to his name last year, or 2 wins, I should say. One at his home track of NOLA Motorsports Park and one at Amarillo Kart Complex, where he was able to get it done. And still looking to hold on to that number 1 plate this year. Easton Cox right behind him. The timetable starts to shuffle a little bit. Kemper up to first, Bailey back up to second. Pettit finds himself in third for TV Kart USA. Cox and Barry, Carson Barry, his brother, joining him up there in 7th.
The driver to watch right now, Nico or Bezo. Kemper Jr. and Easton Cox got around Orbezo, but I got to say, it might be on purpose because Nico Orbezo, since getting passed by those two, have stuck to the rear bumper, or at least of Easton Cox. And so this could be a decent lap here for Nico Orbezo, who, like we saw in the Mini Swift class with Aston Wyatt there, the third card in line tends to be really quick. Another driver that's on a pretty good lap right now, I got to say, is the 829, Travis Pettit. He's third right now at the moment in qualifying. Checkered flag waves. This is going to be the final lap for all these KA juniors. And Gage Bailey tops the board right now ahead of Kemper Jr. He reclaims it, as I believe that was Easton Cox off the racetrack there. Pettit goes P2, Bailey third, Henry now in fourth, Carson Berry to fifth. A lot of shuffling further back. And look at the difference in lap times here, Caleb. And I'm not surprised to see that because there's a lot of passing going on those final couple of laps. And we talked about it. It's all about track position. If you're too busy racing and qualifying, it's no surprise that you see a big difference in lap times. And so for Kemper Jr., he was probably the best that I saw out there in terms of being in the right place at the right time. And a driver that was already the reigning champ, he keeps, or at least right now, shows why he was the number 1 plate. 3/10 clear of Pettit, Gage Bailey, Henry, Carson Berry, your top 5. Almost 7/10 though separates first to 5th.
Yeah, Orbezo got tripped up there on his last lap, which didn't help him out at all. He got tripped up in the buckle, turn number 11. That hairpin there in the infield section, which didn't help him out, and was, I believe he had more in the tank for it, but yeah, not that he would have wanted to end that qualifying session. Kemper Jr., though, reigning champ, holds on to it. Coming up next, though, your 206 seniors. Carter Kogo getting set to lead the field out onto the racetrack. Cameron Reed right behind them. Then you have the 2 Coyotes of James Overbeck and Christopher McKeithen as well. So we'll see how it kind of stacks up whenever we get down to it, but we'll see how it kind of shows how all these drivers do. We saw the morning warm-up sessions here, Alex. Overbeck, McKeithen were quick, and again, everywhere that we go, those 2 drivers work exceptionally well together. And the same thing can be said about the AR Academy boys of Bryce Frank and Kelvin Zing. And again, with Kogo on that MGM chassis now and improving his speed, he's looking pretty good to be one of the ones up there. Just has to stay, I guess, with the pack here in the qualifying session.
Yeah, we've been touching on it all morning, but it's tough, especially for the 206 senior class, to look at that warm-up session this morning and base who you think's going to get on pole and lap time wise, because they were the first session out after the drizzle that hit the racetrack earlier on this morning. So a lot of the lap times you can compare is more to yesterday, but for this 206 senior class, in warm up, you got to find a partner, right? You got to find a drafting partner out there. Track position is key around this place, no matter what class you're in. We keep talking about it, but look at that KA junior class that we just saw. The drivers that were working with a buddy were the fastest. The drivers that were by themselves or racing were the ones that struggled more than others. So here in this 206 senior class, you have the outlap, you have lap 1 and maybe lap 2. Put yourself in the best position possible for that 3rd, 4th lap to go out there and put at least a banker lap in and then a flyer. But if you're on lap 3, lap 4, you're still trying to shuffle for position, trying to find yourself in line. It's going to be a rougher day qualifying-wise than it would be for a driver, who has maybe a teammate or a drafty buddy out there.
Yeah, and you're really going to need a big group of people here, at least 2 drivers working together in this 206 senior class. Being lower speeds, it's going to be important to get everybody out there on the same on the track at the same time. So from what I'm looking at now, 2 groups in this qualifying session. 206 being one of the bigger classes that we have. Only half of them are going to hit the racetrack here. So we were talking about the MGM boys, talking about the Coyotes as well. Looks like Overbeck and Christopher McKeithen got split up with the way the splits kind of worked out. So Overbeck's going to have to find somebody to work with. Our very own Rocco Ruzic, I believe, out there on the racetrack just ahead of him. So we'll see if James can find somebody to work with and somebody to put him up there at the front of the field.
Well, it might end up being Rocket Rusich here, as Overbeck now is going to try to follow the 634 machine through. And again, this is going to be interesting because now, if you're Overbeck, you're used to working with your teammate all weekend long, and Christopher McKeithen. They're used to working together throughout all the CKNA events that they go to, and every single time that they're on board a 206 package. And so to not have the guy that you're most used to drafting with, it's tough. But obviously for James Overbeck, he's a driver that just knows how to work together with everybody. You see Rocket Rusich with the very, aggressive hand signals out there, just saying, let's get on with it here, look ahead, and let's try to put together a decent lap. But again, like I mentioned, the first 2 laps you can kind of burn and, just say, listen, let's slot in line. I want to know who's fast, who's struggling, because I want to find somebody that I can work with. And usually you want it to be a guy that's either your speed or a little bit less as the 604 goes around there.
Carter Kogo, good speed for him, but just mistakes like that cannot happen, especially in a qualifying session being very, very important. So that is not ideal for the third AR Academy MGM machine. So unfortunate there for Kogo. Currently quickest Addy Bamru that first time around. Lap time still nowhere near relative to what they should be. So we'll see how they kind of stack up. Robert Arena, Jacob Oliver out there on the racetrack as well. Oliver's one of the drivers that we talked about when we hit the racetrack here. So we'll see how they do. Another one of the Coyotes and a Burrell Art in there as well. It looks like the 621 that's just in between them. That's out there on the racetrack. Not too sure who that is, but they continue to work their way around. There's Jacob Oliver in the 618 Trackside Karting Services GFC. Robert Arena, the reigning junior champion, right behind him as well.
Now we're 2 laps underway here for 206 Senior. So this is the part where if you haven't found something to work with, now is the time where you just got to go out there and put your head down and see what you've got. But right now, Overbeck, Rocket Rusich, the 2 drivers that we talked about when they left the pit lane, are the 2 drivers that have topped the board so far. Impressive for Rocco, considering hasn't been in the go-kart in quite some time. And for James Overbeck, doesn't have his Coyote partner and buddy. So Overbeck by himself right now, actually getting a pretty good tow off of Rocket Rusich. And here we have 2 of the GFC contingents here as well. So again, this trio, that's what you want to see. You really don't want to see, if you're a mechanic, you're a coach, your drivers by yourself. On your screen, Rocco and James Overbeck working together. Overbeck started this lap a couple kart lengths behind Rocket Rusich. So this is going to be as good of a lap as you can see from the 648 machine out of the final corner. Look for the 648 to really put down a flyer here. It wasn't as quick as I thought it was going to be. Samuel Young, a 102.613 tops the board. Cameron Reed, P2. Overbeck third. He made a pass in turn 15, so that's probably why you can expect him to not be top of the board right now. But impressive for the CRG driver and Cameron Reed. Impressive for Bowden Barnwell as well. P4, Shane Reddy, P5. 210 separates your top 5 at the moment.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure the 621, which I thought that was definitely Barnwell, who's out there on the Burrell Art machine. There's Cameron Reed, who currently sits second. Samuel Young in the MGM machine, I believe, is just right behind them with the black helmet. So we'll see. Again, more time to find. Only a 102.6. And yesterday, the fastest time for McKeithen, a 102 flat, I believe, was the lap time that he ran. And we'll see if he can run that here as well once we get in a qualifying session. Checkered flag not going to come out this time. Some of them will get it. 30 seconds left in this qualifying session. Reed going to get an extra lap, as well as Bamru. Young is going to get an extra one, so is Rusich and James Overbeck. And again, some shuffling. Shane Reddy to the top of the timing charts, a 624, quickest out there on the racetrack, a 102.2. Overbeck in second.
Robert Arana there in the top 3. Reed goes 4th. Carter Kilgo, we saw him spin 2 laps ago. He goes 5th right now. Now 6th as Tyler Roberts goes into that top 5 spot. So a lot of shuffling here with 1 lap to go in qualifying. I can expect some improvements here as long as they have not been battling too hard. Looking at the broadcast booth, I got to say, 2 drivers behind Cameron Reed here is Overbeck, getting a great tow off the 699 of Samuel Young. So we can expect a flyer here from probably Young and Overbeck. Cameron Reed right now, to me, is in the worst spot of these 4 because she's the one that's leading this group.
Yeah, we'll see if Cameron can do anything on this final lap. Again, the last lap for everybody out there on the racetrack. Reed, I think Young is honestly in the best position out of anybody in that MGM machine to get a good lap. We'll see how they stack up this time around. couple of shuffling over back up to the top of the timing chart. So 1:01.8. And that was a quick lap. Jacob Oliver as well, a really good lap to end up his qualifying in second. Samuel Young in third. Reddy and Barnwell, your top 5. Cameron Reed, like you said, you didn't think she was in that good of a spot. She fell all the way back to 8th here, Alex, for Cameron Reed in her Reed Motorsports machine. And again, down the order as well for a couple of other drivers. So unfortunate there for some, and for the likes of James Overbeck, a 1:01.886, the time to beat.
Yeah, 1:01.886. In comparison to what they ran this morning in warm-up, a 1:03.1 was the time to beat. So track's getting better. Obviously, part of that was because it was a little bit damp this morning for the 206 drivers. But a 1:01.8, it's not really much of a benchmark here because they don't really know what this track's like. So for these drivers out here getting ready for group number 2 in 206 Senior, which includes the likes of Bryce Frank and others, that's the lap time they're all chasing. McKeithen's in this group, and again, if there's one driver that you can expect to be up there besides like the Bryce Frank and others is McKeithen, right? Overbeck's teammates. So that is the time they're all chasing. Jacob Oliver, I got to say, a shout out to him. We weren't really talking about the 618 most of that session. He snuck his way into the top 2. So a pretty tight field as always in 206 Senior, and it makes this really fun for group number 2 because a couple of hundredth can separate you between maybe a top 5, a top 10, a top 15 starting spot. So really everything counts, and you can see the likes of McKeithen there, not too worried about letting drivers by. You want to get heat in the tires. You want to find a buddy that you know is fast and you can work together with. There's JD Lamping as well, trying to get maybe with McKeithen. Those are 2 drivers that they know are quick around this place. So wouldn't be shocked to see those 2 guys work together.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't be shocked. They're Reagan Seville out there on the racetrack as well. And I really think whenever they split that up, a lot of the heavy hitters in this group, especially, again, a lot of star power in this second group that just hit the racetrack. So we'll see what they can do here in a couple of moments. Jackson Young as well, a rookie moving up to the senior ranks this year in the 670. Looks like Trackside Karting Services GFC as well, just behind JD Lamping and pushing him along as Reagan Seville in that group as well. But we'll see at the moment, Zing and Frank don't really have that good of track position. They're a little ways back from Seville, so we'll see how what they can do. And again, Roussel leading the pack around, kind of towing everybody around. Just track position. I think is the biggest thing here in 206 qualifying, Alex.
Yeah, now we're seeing a lot of drivers as one goes off. Reagan Seville way off. I wonder if has it started drizzling?
Frank is off the racetrack too, and it is drizzling indeed. It is raining here at SpeedSportz Racing Park, and you have half the field off the racetrack. Your reigning champ, your vice champ there off the track as well.
Getting word that it is raining quite hard out there, actually, and so everyone's going off the racetrack. This is going to throw a major wrench in qualifying here, Caleb, because no one set a benchmark lap. They couldn't get to the line in time, and so for all these drivers, we're basically looking at the bottom half of the grid because there's no way at this point they're going to be able to improve on what the lap times were set in the first group. So this is major drama here for 206 Senior, and looking out the window, it is pouring now.
No, it's definitely pouring rain here, and for these drivers, I think it's better to bring it in. At this point, it's better to come into the pits and not get any spray into your air filter there. So
the dilemma really is you're racing for 18th. Right, because at this point you're probably not going to beat the likes of Paul Braden in a 1:03.3 with how wet the track is. So it's tough.
And even a 110, you're not going to beat that on slick tires in wet conditions. You're really racing. Nobody's going to improve. Nobody's going to go better than even their outlap here, Alex. And I think that's just the truth of it all here, sadly.
It's starting to rain really hard at this point. So as much as maybe these drivers won't want to admit it, it is, like you said, probably better to just pull into the pits. You see Reagan Seville's motor just shut off in turn number 6 with a push from Bryce Frank. Didn't mean to. Obviously, it's hard to slow the kart down with slick tires on this wet racetrack. But at this point, Bryce Frank pulls off. Some drivers electing to stay out on the racetrack. I think it's too wet to even try to get heat in the tires at this point. Maybe you can make an argument to say, you know what, a 110 is beatable. For the drivers that maybe spun on the first lap, they might feel like they need to go out there and do one more lap. But like I mentioned, you're basically racing for 18th, and that belongs to Sawyer Roussel right now. So he was P1 in this group at a 110 flat. which was 9 seconds.
And that was his outlap.
That was 9 seconds off of what Overbeck just did. And yeah, we're not going to get any better than that. I think Sawyer Russell is going to be the benchmark, though. We're going to see what he's able to do on this next lap. And if it's no better than a 110, there is no reason why, if I'm the mechanics, I'm the coaches on the fence line, trying to call my driver in.
Yeah, just no shot. You know, bring him in, and yeah, it's just this is you talk about working together for these drivers.
They're all covering the air filter.
That's
not worth
what you have to do. It's just, to me, it's not worth your equipment, your race motor, you know, your air filter. Or it's really, really not worth it. We saw this kind of happen at the Grand Nationals as well. The first time we were out there as well in the video format. Brandon Jarczyk crack in the main event of the final, water into the air. Like, there's just no point. There's no point to go out there and risk your equipment here and get it done. You have 3 heat races to work your way through.
This is what I was referring to earlier, though, where this was at some point it was bound to happen, where mid-session we started to see some raindrops, and that's why it's so important to keep an eye on that radar at all times and try to almost stay ahead of it. It is so tough to try to convince yourself that it's smarter to go out there on rain tires on a dry track. But like I mentioned, it's happened before. It's happened to me where I've tried to stay ahead of it and put rain tires on and just say, you know what, I know it's going to rain. And so for some drivers, for all the drivers in this session, that no one really got it right. It's impossible to predict the weather, but I am surprised. I will say that some drivers stayed out for the full session. I'll be curious to see if we can keep tabs on who stayed out and if they had engine problems later on.
Josie Chambers stayed out for the entirety of the session. 19th for Josie. His last lap was a 121. His outlap was a 110. His outlap's what's going to stick. So it's just really, wow. Have to hold our breaths after a qualifying session here in 206 Senior. The racing action, I'm sure, is going to be great. The only issue we have here, these drivers are going to start at the same spot for every single one of those 3 heat races, so it's going to be a lot of work. And the main event, I think, is going to be one to watch.
How cool is it to see the 2 guys fighting for the championship last year are down there in the bottom 20.
22nd and 25th here. That is outrageous. But that being said, we'll take a moment here, step aside to catch our breaths. The rain dance has officially commenced, so we'll be right back for more qualifying action. You're watching the Texas Sprint Racing Series live on Kart Chaser.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
If you want to see a giant selection of beautiful new dining room tables, chairs, servers, come out to Gallery Furniture to see with the latest and greatest dining room furniture. Best of all, buy this dining room furniture today, solid wood. Gallery Furniture delivers free to your Houston area home today.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad.
One driver still changing tires here. Looks like one of the Reed Motorsports drivers not out onto the racetrack yet, so changing from slicks to wets. And again, the full rain dance going on, staying on schedule here. So everybody's hit the racetrack, and one driver hasn't yet. So we'll see how they can get out there on the racetrack. And still raining, still sprinkling here, as you can see out from our tower. But the entirety, I should say, of the 206 cadet field out there on the racetrack, except for one. So we're going to wait and see who that driver is yet to hit the track. But again, they're still hard at work there. Cameron Reed and her dad Josh Reed switching those tires over for the one driver. Looks like the 299 there of Mikey Todd, who's getting set to hit the track. So looks like the last tire is on, and he's about to work his way out onto the racetrack for his qualifying session. But a couple of drivers starting to work their way through the timing loop now. Milo Podoraki in the 223 factory kart machine. First driver out there, White as well. Beckley Anderson, Dusty Strayer, Vargas, and more still out there on the racetrack for this qualifying session. And we talked about the air filters there as well. And again, you'll see a lot of different cups, a lot of different kind of things that everybody comes up with here to try and keep those air filters dry during these qualifying sessions as well. Just 2 minutes in, 3 minutes to go left in this one, and a little bit of an incident here. Looks like Wyatt White, the driver there, Beckley Anderson, looks like they got together. And again, a lot of racing going on in this qualifying session, not what these drivers should be really looking for in this one, but we'll see if they can find some good track position here as this one goes on. Killian Short there, the driver in the 213. And side by side with the factory kart, the 207 there as well of Vargas, as they still work their way around. Lap time's going to start to come in this time around. Wyatt White quickest here for Wyatt White, a 111.910. Milo Podoraki second, Aston Wyatt third, Benton Hale to Dusty Strayer to Brody Stoppel in sixth, then back to Vargas, Olisa Moravietz, and Drew Blem, your top 10.
Yeah, this is interesting because it's still slightly drizzling out there, but the track is definitely not as, or at least it's not continually, getting more wet like it was for the 206 senior guys. So this is these are tricky conditions, I gotta say, for these 206 cadet drivers, but they're doing a pretty good job so far of navigating the circuit. And again, 2 minutes to go left in this qualifying session, and right now it's fast Aston Wyatt topping the board there on the 221 machine, but pretty close behind him there is Tyler Moravietz there in the 275 machine, P2, a 10th back. Look further back, Wyatt White, about a 10th and a half back in P3. So pretty close qualifying here for 206 Cadet, and this is what we kind of can expect from the 206 drivers. But in the wet weather, usually you see a little bit more of a discrepancy in lap times. So it's pretty interesting to see, the lap times stay close even in the wet weather. But now as the lap times continue to fall here, we look at the likes of Wyatt White, P1, a 111.444.
Wyatt White, a 111.4. Aston Wyatt just right behind him with a 111.7. We'll see if he can improve here in this one. Brody Stoffel, third. Drew Blem, Tyler Moravietz, they're your top 5. So for Tyler on the Trackside Karting Services GFC, who was teammates last year with Aston Wyatt with Trackside Karting Services GFC, with under the Trackside Karting Services tent there on his Burrell machine. So working his way around this year with a Nitro kart, but still on the Burrell here on the 2-cycle side of things. 4-cycle side of things, goodness gracious, for Aston Wyatt there. So working his way around the double right-hander. We'll see if any of these drivers can really improve here. Stoffel, I believe, the driver that's just ahead of them in the CRG. Checkered flag in the air this time around. A couple of drivers coming through. Killian Short, I believe, the driver who came through. Wyatt White still holding on.
I gotta
here.
say, there's going to be no improvement for Aston Wyatt because with the yellow flag out, he full lifted, and the 275 of Tyler Moraviec got around him. So if anybody's going to improve, it's actually going to be the 275 machine. So for Aston Wyatt, lifted quite a bit for that yellow flag, and doing the right thing. It might have cost him a chance here at a better lap. Brody Stoffel tops the board. Not for long. Tyler Moraviec, like I mentioned, a 1:11.1, takes advantage of Aston Wyatt lifting on the short shoot there. He goes around, so Aston Wyatt's going to stay in fourth.
Yeah, fourth for Aston Wyatt, but what a lap there by Tyler Moraviec to put it on the pole position here. Brody Stoffel second, Drew Blem, Aston Wyatt, White, your top five. Back to Milo Podoraki, Killian Short, Beckley Anderson, Dusty Strayer, and Benton Hale, your top 10 here in qualifying. Obviously unofficial, have to go through tech at the end of it, but good qualifying session for them. Your K8 100 Masters getting set to hit the racetrack now, and again a full wet session here, and still driver's option. So it looks like here, Alex, the rain has kind of stalled a little bit. It was a very, very small cell that was just right over us and went through very quickly, but still, again, anything can change. So whoever decides to take that gamble, and we have the classes still coming up here later. Again, this is qualifying. Heat racing action starts at 12 p.m. That's going to be exclusive to KC Premium members only. So again, for $9.99 a month, become a KC Premium member and watch all the racing action live. You're not going to want to miss any of it here today. It's going to be, I think, some of the best all year, and you know, with a field, or I should say a count of 200 drivers here this weekend. It's definitely a pretty good showing. So we'll see how it kind of goes on for them. But again, for KC Premium members only, for our racing action, which is heats 1, 2, 3 today, and then the main events being tomorrow. Something you won't want to miss. Miguel Mir, first driver out there on the racetrack in the 477. It was the #1 plate for about 7 years, held on to the championship for a very, very long time. And then last year, Pierce Baldus was able to surprise a lot of people and take it away from them on his High Five Performance machine. It's a K100 Masters class presented by High Five Performance. So schedule still there on the bottom, and still a couple more classes set to go after this K100 Masters class. Your 206 juniors will hit the racetrack, and then we'll end up with our K8 100 seniors at the end of the running order to capitalize the start, finalize the start of our day and the start of our weekend here, and the start of our year here at the Texas Racing Series with Miguel Mir, first driver out there on the racetrack. We'll see how his first lap looks in full song in wet weather conditions for Mir. 107.335 there. Burkett right behind him. Pregande, who I think had a big win last year. Pregande, when the top 6 drivers wrecked, he swooped in and took the victory there, Alex, at DKC, Dallas Karting Complex. And still looking and itching to get back onto that top step since then.
The dilemma right now is no one wants to be the first one on slick tires in qualifying. It's a little bit easier of a gamble to make in the race. If you're further back, you kind of have maybe no other option. You feel like if you start up front, usually you'll see you guys be more conservative. But in qualifying, it's when there's the most to gain and the most to lose, right? Because if you're the first guy on slicks and it doesn't go your way, you're probably last. And if it goes your way, you're probably first. So it's a gamble that is really lopsided one way or the other. So right now, just by the way that Miguel Mir is driving this thing, it looks like it's still wet weather conditions, and I think for the KA senior drivers coming up, it's going to stay that way. But this is the session right now that they're all looking at and seeing, what's the attitude of the go-karts like. The lap times are starting to fall down slightly. We're still in that 105 range. To me, the lap times are still slow enough to where you can kind of just make a pretty educated guess that's still too wet for slicks. But it would not surprise me with how Miguel Mir's go-kart looks and how a couple other drivers look, that, yeah, they're using the rain line, but I think maybe somebody can make the gamble and make it work, but I think we're just away from that window.
That's what I'm kind of leaning towards here, right? You have a very long weekend ahead with more rain potentially on the radar. Tomorrow it's almost 100% and 100% certainty that it will rain, and it is going to be pouring. So saving those rain tires also, to me, is I think one of the biggest factors in it all of taking care of the equipment, taking care of the tires especially. You have one set for the rest of the weekend, 3 heat races, and a main event is a long life for these tires, and rain tires especially, that we know overheat super easily and wear very easily when you're kind of in that intermediate conditions, which, like you were saying, I think that's where we are now. But I think rain tires are still optimal, but it's not going to hurt anybody once we get into KA Senior to try a slick tire for the qualifying session.
Well, the last thing you want to do is go out there on a track that is drying up and put on your reins and chunk them up in 2 laps.
Yeah.
Right. So it's always the toughest part. I was always taught if you're ever up in the air about it, slicks is usually the way to go. Right. But I think right now we're still a little far away from slicks, but we're getting close to the 50-50 range where you can kind of do both, that crossover point, like we like to call it. And usually if you're on the fence, slicks are the better option. But again, it's all driver preference, right, when you're in that crossover point. But do you want to risk chunking up your rain tires? It's the last thing you want to do, right, because it's really easy to do when the track starts to dry up. We're starting to see a couple drivers go lower, right, go back to that racing line. We're still doing about a mid-track line, but compared to what we saw earlier in the session with Miguel Mir doing a full rain line, we're starting to see drivers start to explore parts of the racetrack that you normally see on slick tires.
Yeah, here's Trevor McAllister, Arcade Motorsports team owner and an operator there. So for Trevor to be back in the seat, it's been a long time, but it's slated to be a full year back for T-Mac here this year on that CRG machine, a chassis that he's always been comfortable with. So we'll see. He's currently second, 2/10 behind Miguel Mir. We'll see if he can improve this time around. Not enough there for T-Mac the last time around. For Brent Harper, though, on his Kart Republic, he goes up to 3rd, Burkett to 4th, Pierce Ball this year top 5. Mir still holding on strong at the top of the timing charts. And, yeah, it's just, for these drivers, again, flourishing in the wet weather, I think Miguel Mir is in the seat more than any of these guys, and it really has a lot of experience racing in conditions just like this.
What's interesting to note here as we see the likes of Gary Glanger there going to the top of the board at a 105 flat, we're not seeing lap times improve that often. Miguel Mir's best lap was lap 2 at a 105.1. He's done a 105.4 and a 105.5 to follow up those laps. The likes of Trevor McAllister has done a 105.3 multiple times, now improves slightly. Shane Burkett goes to 105.294. Checker flag in the air. They're still 9 seconds off of what they ran in warm-up this morning. So judging from that, I still think we're wet weather conditions, but I got to say, how about Gary Glanger? We talked about it a little bit earlier. Miguel Mir top of the board for the entire session. So that final lap when it matters most. So for Gary, P1 for him in KA Masters. Miguel Mir P2. Shane Burkett on the final lap there goes P3. McAllister and Brent Harper rounding out your top 5. A very close KA 100 Masters field, though.
Yeah, very, very close there. Baldus in 6th, your reigning champ. Just a little ways back to Pregande, to Daniel Howie, Slade Miller, Anthony Hartman, your top 10. Back to Neil Faulkner, Janae Din, and Doug Barry. Your 13 drivers out there on the racetrack. And kind of looking down at the grid, some on wet weather tires, and I thought it looked like from up here that somebody down there, it could be the 477, Alex, if I'm looking correctly here. To me, that looks like slick tires. Or it could be rains. I'm not sure. But I honestly think we're getting close back to that crossover point where you could gamble on slick tires, and I think it may end up benefiting you here.
Yeah, right now, at least the 4 on our screen, the 3 on our screen right now, all on rain tires, but I might agree with you here. Look, it's really hard to tell looking at the broadcast booth here, but the 477, the Red Speed driver, might be on slick tires, but like you mentioned, we're close. If we're not there, and that's at least one set of slicks on the CRG machine. That's the 323.
Yeah, that's the 323 there. We'll get a name on that number. But some slick tires here in this one. So we'll see who.
So that's Mia Johnson, the 333. Yeah. So Mia, at least from what I can see, the first one on slicks. And I think there's a couple more. So this is going to be interesting. Because now if you're the KA Senior group after this, you're watching this intently. Because you need to know right now, are we in the crossover point? Are we too early? Or is slicks by far the choice? Right now, like I mentioned from the KA Masters crew, from warm-up to qualifying, 9-second difference. The crossover point changes from track to track, and obviously, depending on how much speed you're carrying, Sometimes crossover points 3 seconds, sometimes 9 seconds, right? I've seen crossover points as long as 10, 12 seconds, right? So it'll be interesting. The key now is if you're on slicks, you got to get heat in the tires. The first 2 to 3 laps, you will probably be slower than the drivers on wet weather tires. But if you can get the tire in an optimal window to get a heat cycle in them, you might be able to put together a lap on lap 4, lap 5. So for Mia Johnson, and I think there's a couple more out there on slicks, that's the goal for the drivers who chose to go on slick tires.
Yeah, we're about to find out, right? Mia Johnson definitely on slicks. A couple of the other drivers on wet weather tires. So we're about to find out. We're going to see who opted to go with the right strategy. And it looks like 2 drivers at the Kubica kart at the tail end of the field as well on slick tires. And it could even be more than that. We're not sure yet, but we're definitely going to find out who went on what once the time starts to come in. And one of the drivers on slicks went around there and through, not sure who that was, but stuck in the ditch just on the exit of turn 1. So wait to see who that is. But lap time is going to come in here in a couple of moments, and we're going to see who opted with the right set of tires here, Alex.
You know, right now, like I mentioned, the crew that we're watching right now is all on rain tires. They're getting out to a pretty early advantage in this qualifying session. It would be very shocking if anyone on slicks was fastest out the gate. But the lap times, the lap 4, lap 5 is what everyone's going to be watching out for. When you get heat in those slicks, what's the best those slicks can do? Because right now the rain tires are the better option early doors here in this qualifying session. We're starting lap 1 right now, and I got to say, behind this group, quite a ways back, is the 333 of Mia Johnson. So we'll have to keep an eye on her to see if she can get heat in those tires. But right now, it's looking like rains are still the way to go, but I've seen this movie before where all of a sudden on that final lap, the slicks are the way to go.
Yeah, we're gonna see. I guess even by the outlaps, who had a quicker outlap whenever they came out of the pits. But I mean, we're about to find out here. So a lot more drivers working their way through. There's Brandon Green in the TB kart machine. So a lot of slipping and sliding there as well. Yeah, and I'm sure. I think Brandon is indeed on the rain tires there, as you can see, as well as the driver 2 is outside the 374 CRG machine of Peyton Peterson, Presley Peterson as well. And then again, going around for that Kubica kart of the 311 there of Dean Guerrier, who is on slick tires. So could have been wrong on our end, and hopefully, whoa, one tire came off there. I'm not sure if that was Brandon Green or I think indeed that was Brandon Green off the racetrack there. That tire came off, and that shows you what can happen in qualifying, especially whenever you're kind of frantically trying to switch the tires. So unfortunate end to Brandon Green's qualifying session there, Alex.
You can see the frustration there for Brandon Green. You never want to see a tire fall off the go-kart, and it's frustrating when it happens to you. But looking on the booth, while I was watching this all go down, Mia Johnson in the 333 spun on the final corner there. So it's looking like it's tough to navigate this track with slick tires.
The rain's also coming down again here. Looking out of our booth, the rain is starting to come down again. So the gamble is definitely not going to pay off now.
Well, this is what we talked about, right? Gambling and qualifying is the toughest thing to do because you have so much to lose, a lot to gain, but you can also lose a lot. So for the drivers that elected to go onto the slick tires, the likes of Mia Johnson and Dean Guerrier, and I think a couple others, they're going to have a tough time in this qualifying session to stay out of the bottom 2 spots, I would presume. And again, now that puts them in the back 2 spots for the entirety of today with the heat 1, 2, and 3. So it's tricky. It's always hard to predict weather. You never know when the clouds are going to give way and you know, put some water down on the racetrack. And so for Mia and for Dean, I think it was worth the gamble potentially, but I think it's now for the KA senior guys as well. You can see they're probably not going to elect to go onto rains. I'd be shocked if they went on to slicks. Sorry, but we're coming to the close here in this 206 junior qualifying session. P1 is still the likes of the 316 machine, Levi Meader, a P1 by 0.5 of a second over Ava Blem in the 315 machine. So a pretty big disparity in lap times, but right now, 316 machine tops the board.
Yeah, still on top of the timing charts here. Ava Blem in second. Her younger brother, Drew Blem, also racing this weekend in the 206 cadet class. But again, everybody's still working their way around. We'll see if anybody can go faster than Meter there, than Levi. Still hasn't. So checkered flag in the air this time by Francisco Reyes, going to be the driver to take it. I believe Thomas Smith was right ahead of him as well. So a lot of these drivers going to take the checkered flag. And again, from what we saw earlier today, Alex, some drivers didn't make it out onto the racetrack for this qualifying session. We saw a couple of the Santa Ana drivers that didn't go out. So that's just, you know, surprising to see that only half of our field made it out. We have about 14 drivers entered in 206 Junior, and only 9 made it out onto the racetrack. So, yeah, not ideal if you want to start your weekend off on the right foot.
Yeah, but nonetheless, Levi Meader there with the checkered flag waving. The 316 is going to be on pole position for 206 Junior. Coming up next is KA Senior, and I got to say, looking out the window here, Caleb, I cannot tell, but is James Overbeck on slick tires, Caleb?
No, those are definitely rain tires.
I'm
there.
blind.
Yeah, those are definitely rain tires there, Alex. And I'm sure you do wear glasses, right?
I
contacts.
don't. No.
You should probably get some, man, because those are definitely rain tires. Looking outside of our window here, Jake French right behind him. Jesus Vasquez Jr. getting set to lead the field out. John Burke just right behind, but everybody on rain tires. Rain still coming down, and again, it looked like we were close to that crossover point, and it just went way backwards once the rain started to fall again. So rain tires definitely the option as we head into this qualifying session.
And again, another wrench into this TSRS round 1 events. So for the KA Senior guys, a tough track already to navigate in general, and now with the rain on the racetrack, and it continuously, now it's kind of stopped drizzling. It did drizzle a little bit for the junior session. It rained decently hard for the 206 senior guys. So continuous change in weather, track conditions is getting tough for all these drivers to navigate. I guess the one positive is at least if I was the KA senior crew, I'd probably be pretty happy to be in Group 1, right? I mean, I'd be happy to be out there because it's only going to get maybe worse. You don't want to be the group like in 206 Senior that gets caught on the bad half of it all, where the track gets more wet. It is a tough thing to go for because the second group could be on a drier track. So you never really know, but here for this crew, at least, there's no question. Rain tires for everybody. They got to watch the 206 Juniors, and for everybody on the slick tires in that 206 Junior qualifying session, I don't think there was a lap that they went around that they didn't at least spin once. So it goes to show you that we were just too early for that crossover, and then the added rain throughout that session definitely made it more difficult.
Again, this qualifying group going to be split in two. The first half getting set to hit the racetrack now, and the second half will go just right after. And you talked earlier about the track conditions in 206. We are, we are very well. We could see the same here today as well with the first half and the second half of this KA Senior qualifying group. You could see the track improve. You could see it worsen. So we can see this go one of two ways, Alex, and I think that's the most exciting part about this qualifying session coming up.
907 Peyton Phillips there having a little bit of issues getting underway. More issues for the 907. So Peyton Phillips right now frantically, frustrated, I'd say, for the Arcane driver. Peyton Phillips not happy right now. Can't get his KA motor to fire up off the grid right now. And this is tough, Caleb, because one, you're losing track time, and two, you might not even make it onto the racetrack. That's the last thing you'd want for a driver that's, making the switch over to a new team. And
he's been the driver to beat all weekend long. Everybody's had their stopwatches on this kid here. It looked like a dream debut weekend for him, but this is not good for Peyton Phillips and the Arcane team. Something amiss here, and man, heartbreak here. And again, they're still trying to work on it. and I don't think they're going to make it out here. It looks like they're trying to get an external starter to get that thing started, and we'll see if Peyton starts.
Oh, man, having troubles getting the external starter in. Looks like there's a couple more things wrong with that motor right now. They're trying to make a couple of
Austin Osborne there, his mechanic looking to change that spark plug
change
out here on the grid. So we'll see if he can even get that thing fired. But we're about a minute into qualifying, and that is not what you'd expect to see from Peyton Phillips before qualifying even kind of got going there. Justin Music with the driver currently at the top, and this is the first real lap. So if Peyton can make it out.
Well, we had another driver late there, just heading out onto the racetrack right now was the 985. One of the TV machines was late onto the racetrack, so he just made his way out there 2 laps behind everybody else. But
that's Dallas
Phillips,
Dunlap.
Yes, so Dallas Dunlap late to grid.
He was top 5 in the morning warm-up session, and that's not good for Dallas Dunlap as well. And they're still working on Peyton Phillips' spark plug there, trying to get that thing on, and we'll see if they can get him fired and out onto the racetrack there for that qualifying session. He's really only going to have 2 laps to get those tires up to temperature, and they're going to try to start him again here. Overbeck working his way around the front straightaway now. We'll see what James's time looks like. Only 11th for James. He's going to switch around here. Jake French up to the top of the timing charts. James up a couple of spots here. Looks like he's into the top 10. But Jake French quickest with a 104.100. Still nothing from Peyton Phillips. Still hasn't worked his way out onto the racetrack. John Burke, the driver, just ahead of French's factory kart there, Alex.
Yeah, French, look at that. I mean, really leaning on the go-kart. He's a taller guy, so he has the advantage in conditions like this to really get extra rotation out of any go-kart he drives. And you can see him really using his body weight, shifting it forward to get bite in the front tire, shifting it left and right depending on the corner. So for Jake French, really taking advantage of the height difference that he has with some drivers and just his ability to wheel a go-kart. Obviously comes from the shifter side of things where you really have to manhandle the package. But for Adrian Cruz now, that's a 104 flat. He tops the board at a 104 for the 916 machine. Overbeck struggling right now at the moment with French catching up to his bumper. John Burke falling off of the 961 machine as well. So let's see what this lap. It looks pretty good for French. It is good. A 103 flat.
And you see the different approach here. Jake all over the curbs, and James looks like he has a more of a little bit of a wider line, and Jake just a more aggressive approach to every single corner, to everything, kind of using his body and really manhandling that go-kart and telling it what to do. And it looks like James is more
Peyton Phillips
more speed,
has got it fired up. He's going to have 1 lap here. We just saw Jake Faulkner actually leave the pits as well, so a couple of the TB guys were late to the grid. So Jake's going to have to get his kart really fired up and rolling. And for Peyton Phillips, they got it fired up off the grid, and they're not going to let him out. So Peyton Phillips not let out of the pits, and he's got a dejected look on his face, and I can imagine why for Peyton Phillips. Like you mentioned, Caleb, the driver everybody was chasing all day yesterday and into this morning is going to start from the tail end of all 3 heats today.
And that's just not how you want to start your year with a new team. And you know, the speed that he had all year long was last year, and the bad luck in 2024 could never escape that bad luck. And then you go into 2025, and it just seems like it's continued for him here, Alex. And it's just really, really heartbreaking to see a kid with so much talent, you know, kind of not have the luck on his side, and just unfortunate for Peyton. And he's going to be, I think, one to watch once we get into racing action. Definitely going to drive with a fire in his belly once we get down to it. But Jake French, Dallas Dunlap, late out onto the racetrack, 2nd overall. Dallas Dunlap, are you kidding me? What a start for that TB car team for Slipstream Racing. Dunlap up to 2nd. Hamza Ambar up to 3rd. A good showing for the rookie. Just moved up from junior. Taylor Roddy up to 4th. Adrian Cruz, your top 5. John Burke in 6th. And it took a while for these TB carts to hit the racetrack, but when they did, I tell you what, Alex, they were pretty quick. Dunlap, a good lap there to put himself up to 2nd. And as well, John Burke and Roddy up there 4th and 6th so far.
Yeah, a couple more drivers shuffling through the order here as checker flag is waved. So for French, he betters his lap at a 102.748, puts 8 tenths on the field at the moment. We're watching Dallas Dunlap, who, like we mentioned, He's only gotten 2 laps in this session. This is his 3rd lap now here for qualifying. Rounding the final corner, he's already P2. Can he improve on his lap here? Maybe go top of the board. He's a taller driver. He's able to navigate this racetrack pretty well. Improvement for him, a 103.5 is the best he's going to get. A 103.4 for Dallas Dunlap. Hansa Anbar could not improve. Taylor Roddy there could not improve. James Overbeck improves slightly to go to 5th at a 103.8. A second back from Jake French.
We're just getting word here that a couple of drivers are opting to go on slick tires. Jose Carlos Hernandez for Red Speed Racing, slick tires, and sorry about that. Rain set of tires here for Jose Carlos Hernandez as he is getting set to hit the racetrack now. And we'll see how this second group does. Again, Vasquez, the reigning champ, only 8th best for him. And again, the second half of the group still set to hit the racetrack now. A 102.748.
So Peyton Phillips just they lowered the go-kart. Phillips hopped in the go-kart. They tried to go out for the second group. Now they're getting told they cannot go out for group number 2. If you couldn't get out for group 1, that is it. You have to go out in your group. You can't just choose which group you want to go out in. And now the frustration really sets in for Peyton Phillips as reality sets in, I think. And he realizes now he's got a tall mountain to climb this weekend.
Yeah, and especially it being the first round, not ideal for him on how he would have wanted to start. But nonetheless, you talk about drivers that are really good in the rain. Jose Carlos Hernandez is one of those, and you see it there in his driving. And he talked to him yesterday, talked to him on Thursday as well. He was really, really confident that he was going to be able to come away with a win this weekend on what's a debut year for the Red Speed Racing team here in Texas, and for them to bring him out here to coach and to lead this team and lead the charge. We'll see what he can do against the likes of Jake French.
Yeah, and you can see the driving style similar to French, using all the curb, using the body weight. That's the way to go, especially around a track that's starting to dry once again as it stopped drizzling out there. So this track will continue to improve. I mentioned it earlier. Group 1, if it started to rain for Group 2, was the group you want to be in. But I think Group 2 is now the group that you want to be in on a drying track. It's going to dry slowly, but it's still going to be drier than what it was the session before. It's a 9:12 off the racetrack
Addy
there.
Bamrou for Kart Racing Solutions off the racetrack and out of this session early.
So we're going to have to keep an eye on the lap times, but it would not shock me at all if a lot of drivers in this group go quicker than the likes of French, Dunlap, Anbar, and others in group number 1, simply because the track is just drying up. It's going to be a long time before it gets back to dry, and I presume we're going to get more weather throughout the day, so it probably will never get back to fully dry. But let's see what the first flying lap here is for Hernandez. Already 3rd, Howell P2, Landon Skinner P3, and I got to say, Caleb, by lap 3 and 4, I suspect a lot of the drivers in this group will be faster than group 1.
Oh yeah, Jake French. I mean, still his lap is definitely going to stand somewhere inside of the top 10, if not in contention for the pole here as well. But again, we're going to see how the second group what they can do to kind of get it done. There's Aiden Rudolph, goes up to 2nd in his home track, and if anybody has more laps racing in the rain in this track, it's this kid right here.
Yeah, and you can see it just confidently going through all the curbs. Hands are as smooth as they can be, so they have that thing dialed in for CRG Nordum. And I got to say, for Aiden Rudolph, probably not the qualifying he would have wanted in shifter, trying to make amends for it here in the K side of things, already going P2. And if these drivers can already be in the top 5, top 10 after their first flying lap, the laps will only continue to get faster and faster as the session goes on here. Second lap in the books for a couple of drivers. Let's see if we have any changes for position here as French still holds on to P1 right now. Ibrahim Dean goes to P2. Carlos Hernandez P3. A 10th back from French. So French, his lap, that goes to show you how impressive Jake French is here in the wet weather to still hold on to P1 on a track that's continuing to dry. But Aiden Rudolph, I suspect here, I might predict a P1 spot for 979 machine. He does. A 102.544. The track's getting better. The drivers are getting better. They're getting more used to the racetrack, and lap times will continue to fall.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't the speed that we expected for Aiden in shifter. 3rd, we expected him to be up there at the top, but he's doing just that here in K100. Senior French falls back to 2nd by 0.2 of a second. And Ibrahim Dana, again, a really, really good showing. He had that breakout drive at Crescent, Texas, not too long ago. And again, he's been super impressive as well. Already closing in on Landon Skinner, who was a rookie last year, now a sophomore in this class. Finds himself inside of the top 10. Landon Skinner looking to work his way up. Not going to be enough. Doesn't improve on that lap, but Rudolph still top of the timing charts. And like you said, a ride that came together last minute, doing really good to put it up there with a 102.544.
Not many drivers improved on lap number 3 and 4, which is interesting because usually you would think that the lap times will only continue to fall, but they haven't. And so for Rudolph, no improvement there on his last lap either. So a lot of drivers, lap 4 was not the optimal lap. So maybe lap 3 was the best lap here, or a lot of drivers there are just trying to, get one more lap in on that 5th lap. But I'm shocked that we didn't see any more improvements for anybody really in the top 10 besides Dallas Dunlap was in the group 1. So nobody in the top 10 from this second group has improved on their lap from lap 3 to lap 4. So we're in like that weird plateau period. I still suspect we'll see some more improvements here with a checkered flag waving for all these drivers here. So let's see who's going to improve. Does Rudolph hold on a pole, or does anybody have something to say for the CRG driver? No improvements so far inside the top 10.
Yeah, Jose Carlos Hernandez just got the checkered flag. Everybody starting to get the checkered flag. Aiden going to be the next to get it here in 2 corners time. Nobody improving. I don't think Aiden's even going to improve this lap either, but he's still first. And let's see what he did in that last lap.
He got the memo, too, because out of the final corner,
yeah,
he gave a thumbs up. So I'm sure Ewan or a couple of the CRG guys were on the fence line saying, you know what, buddy, you got pole. You don't really have to burn it down anymore. So Aiden Rudolph, pole, a 102.544, put this package together last minute, last night. So to put it P1 is impressive. Jake French out of the first group, top 2. Ibrahim Dean, what a run for him. Jose Carlos Hernandez, Ian Howell, you're top 5. Most of Group 2 was better than Group 1 except for Jake French.
That was, I think, a good qualifying session there by everybody. You see your top 15 there. Overback 15th on that Coyote machine. We'll see what conditions do. We'll see what conditions, how they act as the day kind of goes on. We're expecting some rain. So we're going to be in for a long, long day of racing here, Alex. Thank you guys for joining us here for the morning for our free coverage. Again, heat races, main event action tomorrow, all going to be for KC Premium members exclusively and only $9.99 a month. Become a member and watch all the racing action live in all the month of for what's left of February and what's about to be March. A very, very busy month for all of us here at Kart Chaser. But we'll see you guys on the other side of the lunch break at around 12:30 p.m.